Even better. I call forward to the meeting of the mayor and the council, Borough of River Edge, Citizen Budget Committee, March 1st, 2025. Municipality Borough Hall at the library and on Zoom. Madam Clerk, if you could read the open public meetings notice.
Okay, you don't want to do the silent prayer and flag salute first?
Oh, okay, yes.
Oh.
Thank you. Please stand for peace in the world and for our government and our people. Councilwoman Kinsella, release the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could read the open notice.
Sure. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification via the February 19th sunshine notice containing the date, time, date, location, and access information, which was sent to the town news and the record and posted on the municipal bulletin board and borough website, and filed a notice of the same with the municipal clerk.
Okay, so this is meeting one of two, hopefully only two. They are from 8 to noon. We are open to the public later on in the meeting. We would like to have an introduction by our CFO, Mr. Battaglia, and then we'll have some comments from myself and the budget finance chair and the borough administrator, and then we will begin to work through the departments. Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to go through a couple of the higher level line items while we're pending going through all the detail. We're starting at a tax impact. This is what I have is a little bit different than what's in front of you. It's not very much different, but there are a couple of last minute requests that I'm sure the departments will be going over.
Chris,
yes.
Chris, I apologize. My failure. Madam Clerk, would you please read the roll of both the council and the Citizens Budget Committee?
Okay. Council President Montesano Cohen?
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Here.
Councilwoman Molinari?
Here.
Councilman Benson?
Here.
Councilman Glass?
Here.
Councilwoman Dhariwal?
Here.
Mayor Papaleo?
Here.
Okay, Greg Coretti?
Here.
Kenneth Krautheim?
Here.
Albert Rumlin?
Here.
Donna Sanders?
Here.
And I'd like to thank especially our Citizen Budget Committee members for taking the time and being a part of this today. We really appreciate it. Chris, again, thank you for letting me interrupt you. Please continue.
So again, high level, right now we are looking at a total amount to be raised in taxes. So that is your total appropriations minus the miscellaneous revenue that we collect, not from taxes, of about $17,200,000, which is about $1 million more than what it was last year, or about 6.6%. Again, it's slightly different than the tax impact sheets you have in front of you, not by very much, but there were a couple of last minute requests that departments had put in that they will be going over when we go through their departments. And obviously I will be making changes to these documents in real time as we go through it. This year, I'm using an estimated average residential assessment. The reason why I'm using the estimated number right now is because our final numbers are not final yet. I only have the anticipated number from the assessor's office. We are going through a revaluation and they are still finishing that up, and the final book is not yet published. So last year we had an average residential assessment of about 397,000. This year that number is about 675,000. What that means is that everybody's, for the most part, every residential property will be assessed at a higher number. The tax rate will be lower, and it'll be split into about a third, where you'll see a third higher, a third lower, and a third about even in taxes, depending on how their assessed value changed relative to all the other assessed values in town. The year-over-year change for the $1 million increase in the amount to be raised by taxes is about $248 on that average house assessed at $675,000. And I'm going to go through a couple of the drivers here. On the revenue side, since we spend most of our time talking about the department budgets, I want to go through some of the pieces of revenue. We don't have a lot of non-tax revenue. So like I said before, we've got about $4.4 million of non-tax revenue. Of that $4.4 million, $2.2 million of it is our own surplus that we're utilizing. And another $1,086,000 is state aid. The rest of it is relatively small numbers, fees and permits, courts, fines and costs, interest that we collect on investments, cable franchise fees, things like that. Uniform construction code fees. So the construction office is probably the largest revenue outside of state aid and surplus anticipated, and that's anticipated at about $250,000. So not a whole lot of non-tax revenue to talk about. There are two big items that you will not see in this year's budget that were included in the last at least 2 years. That is municipal relief fund aid. That was state aid that the state had included for 2 years. They do not have it again this year. That said, the state aid certifications have not yet been released that I'm aware of. So that could change, but I'm not expecting it to. And then the last one is the reserve for ARPA funds. That was the money from and ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act. That was back during COVID. That came out. We had been drawing that down every year for the last 3 years or so. And last year was the last year at about $300,000. Between those two, we saw a drop in revenue of about $400,000. And I increased the amount of fund balance or surplus that we anticipated by that $400,000 to offset that. So we largely did not see a big change in our anticipated revenue to the downside, only to the upside for the smaller items to the tune of about $100,000 or so. On the appropriation side, a couple of the big ticket items that we talk about every year are the garbage contract. This year that works in our favor. We were expecting that to come in a lot higher than it did. We were seeing a savings of just under $200,000 there. We have new
Chris, I'd like to interrupt you again at this point. I want to call out kudos to Superintendent Melito for working very hard with New Milford and getting us this favorable contract, especially in addition to Superintendent Melito, of course, our BA, but the superintendent did a great deal of the legwork on this. So Jason, thank you very much for helping us get a favorable contract. Go ahead, Chris.
The next item is affordable housing. There's going to be more expenditures related to affordable housing this year as we go through that process of the fourth round of funding. The BCUA fees for both O&M and debt service are about $108,000 higher than last year. I'm expecting an increase of about $21,000 in the sewer charges from Hackensack and Paramus. So between those three items, we're at $128,000, $129,000 of an increase. Our unemployment insurance reserve has been pretty much depleted for a couple of years with COVID. The state was subsidizing the unemployment claims. That's no longer happening. And for the most part, our unemployment claims have been steady, so we are going to have to replenish that reserve. That's to the tune of about $41,000. And then this is the first year that we have interest on notes. Notes are short-term financing. We discussed this the last 2 years, where I had been utilizing our fund balance to effectively act as a bridge loan for ourselves for all the construction projects and capital projects that we were going through. We hit the limit on the amount that we can use on that, and we had to borrow on a short-term basis about $9 million. The interest rate at the time we borrowed was about 4.5%. So we're paying about $400,000 this year in note interest, which is a new line item. We did anticipate that that was going to happen. We didn't anticipate that the interest rates were going to be as high as they were, but we did have about $300,000 that we had included in our capital improvement fund to help absorb the cost of the interest. So we're only seeing about $100,000 on the appropriation side of an increase. On the revenue side, you'll see that we are anticipating $57,600 from general capital fund balance. That's a new line item as well. That's actually a premium that we collected on the note sale. So the real impact of the note interest is going to be about $43,000 after you consider the reduction in the capital improvement fund, the addition of the premium, and the actual cost of the interest on the notes. The combined library increase this year is about $83,000 as of right now. That is primarily a result of the 1/3 mill calculation being about $50,000 higher year over year. And then the rest of that is the request of the library, which I believe will go through next week. The last couple of items here, we had 2 special emergency authorizations last year. A special emergency allows us to raise the funds immediately, but we have to pay them back over 5 years. We had a storm system map and a reassessment last year that we adopted special emergencies for, so we are paying 1/5 of the cost of that this year. That amounts to about $91,000. And that's a new line item that will be in the next 5 budgets. The total salary and wage increases, which includes union, non-union, and all part-time employees, is about $562,000. And then we've got the liability and workers' comp insurance from the JIF is about $42,507 of an increase. We've got a $42,000 increase in health benefits, which we're actually weathering a pretty big storm here. The increase in the premium was about $16,000. We've been anticipating increases year over year, and we've been building up that budget a little bit. So we're only seeing a $42,000 increase as opposed to a $160,000, $170,000 increase. And then our pension bills, we discuss this every year. We just get one bill from the state for each fund. We have a police and fire retirement fund, and we have the public employee retirement fund. And those total about $92,000 in increases. Again, it's just a bill. There's no breakdown on the bill. It's just the amount that we owe for the year. And then the last 2 larger items that we have are department related. They're the recreation department and the DPW department. The recreation department's going up about $20,000. We'll go through that when we go through the recreation budget and the DPW budget. And that's combined. There's 8 different sub budgets under the entire Public Works header, which includes public works repair and maintenance, recycling, other public works functions. The Shade Tree Commission is now under the Public Works umbrella, buildings and grounds, parking lot maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and the sewer system. Those are all combined and it's only about a $56,000 increase. I'm really including anything here that's about $20,000 or more. The total of the items that I just named is $1.1 million, $1.17 million, right? And our taxes are only going up $1 million, $1,060,000. So I've got about $100,000 more of increase in just those couple of line items than what our total budget's going up. That extra $100,000 savings was the revenue that I was talking about. So those are your major drivers. Everything else is much smaller, impactful, but much smaller as it relates to the total budget. And that's what amounts to about the 6.6% increase as it stands right now.
Okay, Councilwoman Kinsella is our Budget and Finance Chair. Councilwoman, do you have any comments at this point?
I'd just like to say thank you to Chris and our BA, Lizette Apatella, as well as my fellow Finance Committee members, Dave Glass and Floriana Malari. We've had many meetings trying to figure out how we can get the tax rates down from 6.5 to something somewhat reasonable from last year. And hopefully we can go through and get, as well as the mayor, sorry, as well as the mayor meeting with us, trying to figure out how we can assist with this. And so hopefully this meeting will help us to get a better tax rate for the residents.
Very good. Now, one of the concerns that we have is that we can't possibly place upon ourselves as residents or our fellow residents a tax increase of 6.532%, or I think it's a little bit different in Chris's current calculation. Chris, what's your current calculations? You're muted.
Sorry, 6.6% right now.
6.6%. I think we definitely want to try to reduce that, hopefully as much as 2.6% if possible. Chris, what would that be if we brought it down by in dollars? What would be the reduction to bring it down to 4.0 if possible?
To get to 4%, we would need to reduce $420,000 from this budget.
All right. And as anyone might think, that will not be an easy task. The Finance Committee, myself, the BA, have had many discussions about this, and it may be necessary for us to consider strong cuts across the board, which may include hiring freezes and salary freezes. We will need to run a needs budget, not a want budget. And that will go both for the capital and the operating budget. But we want to understand what our department heads, why our department heads are asking for what they're asking for, whether they're asking for an increase and or decrease. And that will help us in our deliberations of what we need to cut and what we need to keep. Would that be fair?
Yes.
All right then. Ms. Apatella, I think, and Councilwoman Kinsella, I think right now we'd want to move to our departments.
Yes.
All right. Which department would you like to go to first?
I think fire, if that's okay.
No, fire won't be here until 11.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Police then.
Chief Walker, you are up first. We'll go to your operating budget. Chris, can you tell us where we'd find their operating, on the operating tabs? And hold on. Let's
Mayor, I think we're on page 48 of the large document. Do you want me to share my screen the same way? I'm not sure if everybody can see it in there, or if you want to keep.
No, I want you to share it because that helps the public understand what we're doing too, if the council is in agreement. All right, and if it becomes burdensome, then we can move back to the screen.
Do we want to go to the request first, as opposed to operate?
Do you want to do that? Do you want to do requests instead of operating? All right. Chief, Chris, what we're gonna do is we're going to keep the, we're gonna close this out, go back to full screen. And we're gonna have the chief speak to his requests. For this year, chief, this would be both salary and capital. And you can begin with either, but if you can just stay with one or the other, so that the council and the Citizen Budget Committee can follow along in their book.
Okay. So I'll start with capital then.
All right, everybody, let's switch to our capital tabs. You may or may not want to remove the sections and then put them back. It's up to you, whatever you find more convenient. Okay, chief, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if in the past, I think, Chris, you put up that capital budget sheet, but I guess if everybody's looking at it, it doesn't really matter.
No, chief, I think that's a good point. For the public's benefit, we're in a slightly different phase of this. For the last about 5 years, we've all been doing this remotely, but we are now by attorney advice, where the council must be in person. So if Chris, if you could put the capital budget up on the screen, that would be great.
Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, so to start off with the vehicle replacement, that is something that I communicated with Chris recently about, and my liaison. That 101,000 is something that I'm looking to move and take out of the traffic trust account. And the traffic trust account, I think everyone's aware of it. That's the money that's been taken in and cleared from the PSE&G project. All right, and not keep it in the cap line. There's well, Chris will have the numbers on it, how much money is in there. But I think that's a wise choice for that. These particular vehicles are the traffic vehicles, right? Or there are 3 Treks that we purchased last year. We have at least 2 more years of PSE&G in front of us. And those cars, as they did prove themselves this year, they are more efficient, they're smaller, and they're getting the job done. What's happening is we just lost another car about a week or so ago. The older police vehicles that have been used for traffic they're just basically their life is coming to an end. I think when the time is necessary, Superintendent Melito will give input as to the upkeep and the cost on those. So we want to take advantage of this opportunity to use this trust money to purchase these vehicles. Not only will it get us through the PSE&G traffic for the next couple of years, but once those details are done, we'll be able to we expect to phase out even more cars that are older that haven't actually died by then. So then we'll be in a very good place with our traffic vehicles. And when I say traffic vehicles, remember that these small cars, they can't be used for patrol. They're not pursuit rated. They're not beefed up enough like the Tahoes. They could be used for detective bureau. They could be used for admin. But primarily, we're looking at them for the traffic vehicles so that we can get through this without not having the cars. The cars, we're not in the business of making money, as one would know as a police department. That's certainly not our priority. However, with the traffic, the PSE&G details, we are bringing in a considerable amount of money each year. I think last year, after all the officers were paid, we were over 600,000. I think even closer to 7 again. Chris will have the precise numbers with that. So as much as I put that in the cap, that would be my request and direction with that. I think everyone also knows, generally I ask for at least 1 or 2 radio cars each year. All right. This year I'm not asking for a radio car. We given the circumstances with the dealerships, it's been a bit of a nightmare dealing with them. It's something that the Chiefs Association is even looking at. They just they put you off. In Bergen County, we don't buy a lot of cars, so when you're buying 1 or 2 cars, they kind of just push you off. That being the case, and the reason why I explain that is because we're still waiting on a Tahoe from last year, believe it or not. So we've been able to make it through without that replacement, but obviously we're really relying on it to get here as soon as possible. And that's in doing a large credit to Superintendent Bolito and our mechanic, Pete Stitz, keeping the cars that we do have at the level they're able to run. So we didn't fall behind there. So the point being, taking this 101, requesting that it be taken out of a trust, not asking for a radio car this year because my priority is to look at this this line. I'm going to jump a little further to the bottom, but you'll see the townwide ALPRs and cameras. ALPRs are automatic license plate readers, and cameras are just that, they're cameras. And townwide means the placement throughout the town. Over the last couple of years, as you know, we have been adding cameras throughout different properties in town. I've been able to place some cameras in some areas of town where it benefits us as a police department and benefits certainly the town from safety aspects. The way policing is moving forward is that it's based so much more on electronics and cameras. And when I watch my detectives work now, it's so much different than when I was a detective years ago. They're putting in subpoenas looking for, your phone records. They put in subpoenas and they get cameras from places like McDonald's or CVS that might have perimeter cameras or even interior cameras. It's all about digital evidence, and it's all about following people, if you would, when there's a need to. A perfect example of this just happened this past week. I don't know if you saw it in the newspaper. Chief Gadetti, who I will is a good friend of mine from Paramus. Paramus took full credit for this incident with the individual who was passing fraudulent. 2 of them were passing fraudulent $100 bills. That started in River Edge. That started at Total Wine, and we were made aware of it. And we had one of my detectives quickly went to the cameras, followed the individual through the lot, watched the car that they got into, went to another set of cameras and could see that the vehicle went north on Kinderkamak. And then we do have a couple of these in place already. Like I said, we have 3 plate readers placed around town. And then what the plate readers do is they catch every single plate that goes past the camera. And then it turns it into, we can obviously track that. What this detective was able to do is then say, all right, let me see where, if I can, because we only have 3, where it left town. He determined that it left town, it looped around and left town down by Total Wine and went towards Paramus. We're also part of a network of this sharing. And it's important to know that the Attorney General's office and Bergen County Prosecutor's office supports this program. And they are involved to the extent of helping us. They have to house all the memory. That's the way it is. We don't house it ourselves. That's a control and security reasons, so that all this information is kept in one spot. So that's a good benefit to all the police departments because we don't have to pay for that. But it also allows us to jump on the cameras in other areas. Sure enough, our detective was able to tell that the vehicle had gone into the Bergen Mall, and we relayed that to Paramus. And interestingly enough, an officer that had left us to go to Paramus stopped the car, and long story short, the 2 individuals were caught. It's just an example, and I'm bringing it up because it just happened last week. That's the direction that policing is going into. I used to, beat feet and knock on doors and, look for people. It's more that this electronic age. There's several towns in Bergen County that are either already in this place or heading here, and I just want to at least begin the process, if I could, to wrap up the town. And basically what you ideally want to do is you're putting your plate readers and a camera at the entrances of town, which we have about. Lieutenant McGinty is running this project for me, and he's an ace with it. But if I recall correctly, I think we have about 15 locations if you think of getting in and out of town. Once you're there, then you got them. You know, you're not getting in and out of River Edge without us knowing what vehicle. Now, what does this mean for the residents, and what does this mean? Is it just a bunch of, you know, toys for the police department? Not at all. It's actually a big responsibility. It's a big undertaking for us to be able to look at these and use them properly. But what it means is, you know, for your people that come into town and steal the catalytic converters, they had to get here somehow. You know, those, we haven't had one of those people from town yet, right? So it means that, you know, it's not a resident or somebody living in town taking it, and we can't see them because they didn't leave or come into town. These people come into town, the burglars come into town. Having a town as good as we do, we generally don't have many criminals living in the town, so they come into town. The shoplifters that come into the south end of town, they come into town and they leave town. So there's many types of offenses. And then on the, you know, another area is when we have people, and we do every now and then, we have an elderly people every now and then that may wander off. And this gives us the ability to see, hey, where are they? Where did they leave town? What time was it? And then it's not just us, right? Like I said before, there's thousands of these things all over the state. And then we just quickly can track things. Once you have a plate, you put it in, and the system will tell you where it's been and what dates and what times. In fact, the individuals that I've talked about with Total Wine, they came over to the GWB. We had that, and we suspected they were going back. So right away, we got in touch with Fort Lee PD, and you start a network, and you start to, you know, close in on them. So that is obviously, that is a huge cost, you know, and I realize that, and I realized where we're at. But by not asking for that radio car, generally we ask for 80,000 for a radio car, so I'm not asking for that this year. And by taking that 101, as long as you know, it's approved, that's being taken off of here and moved over to you know, the trust account. That I think everyone is aware of how that works. All right, I'll certainly, you guys just stop me when you want to ask questions, otherwise I'll go through these other few items. All right,
Chief, I think it's best if you go through all the items and
Great.
then the council can ask questions.
great, I think that's what we did last year. So the ballistic vest program is just something we do each year. Those are the ballistic vests that the officers wear. We have that with a combination of what we get in state aid or federal aid, and that just keeps us where we need to be. These vests get replaced basically every 5 years, and we're right where we need to be. You know, meaning that we might be a little behind. I gave up my replacement a couple of years ago, but then I finally was able to jump in and get a new one last year. And as you know, I do wear a Class A uniform, so I do wear a vest. But that just puts us where we need to be with that obviously much needed piece of equipment that the officers use. The radio car computer is the same thing. Those have about a 5-year life expectancy. Our radio cars, as you know, we have 4 that run around the clock. We have 2 that back them up. We do have the SLEO 2 program with the officer. We have 1 in the academy now. We hopefully will expect to have 2 of those. And we can use the ones that are still working, the older ones, in those 2 cars, which are also the backup for patrol when a car goes down. So simply put, that's the computer in the radio cars. That's that's the lifeline of the officer as far as all intelligence, computer entries, license plate checks, wants, all types of information goes through that. So that's something these couple items have been there and they continue to be there. They haven't really increased much. I think the vest went up a little bit, but not this year, but from the year before. All right. Traffic signs and cones, that went up a little bit last year, and that is where we kept it the same this year. And that's, you know, partial to do with, not just the PSE&G project, but to make sure that we're keeping our signs throughout town where they need to be. Sergeant Diamond is an ace with that, and he stays on top of that for me. But it you know, we're able to use some of that trust money as we have. As again, I yield to Kristen to recall how we've used it for the purchase of different things, different signs and cones and stuff that relate to the traffic details. But there's more than that. There's actual posts, there's replacement of faded stop signs. All the costs in these things go up. And it's important that we maintain the level that we're at so the signage in town is proper. And that's obviously for safety, for enforcement, and just to keep it in the right place. All right. The Beast evidence software is something that you know, we've been looking at. My evidence officer's been requesting for a while. And simply put, that's how we keep track of our evidence. It's a software system. Ours is very antiquated. It works, but it is antiquated. This is something that, especially with accreditation, we took note of, and we said, hey, you know, we need to start putting this request in to see if we can get there and keep track of this. The evidence in the police department is obviously very seriously taken. To give you an example how serious it is, there's only 2 people that have a key to the evidence room. I'm not one of them. There's the lieutenant and the evidence officer. Everything is so very, very strictly monitored and looked after. We have to move evidence from the evidence room to the state to, you know, for court cases, whether sometimes it's blood, sometimes it's urine, sometimes it's just weapons. It could be a variety of different things. To keep that very, you know, to the level that it needs to be, it basically can't be any mistakes with that. It can't be compromised in any way. This is a software that brings us really to this day and age of where we need to be. As an example, you know, if you remember a few years ago, there was an issue with the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office where they had an officer, unfortunately, a ranking officer over there who was taking evidence out, taking narcotics out and selling it, believe it or not. And that was a huge, you know, a blemish, I'll say, on such a prestigious department. But it was an eye opener to a lot of departments, you know, to all of us really, to say, hey, you know, this is how close we need to keep track of this stuff. You know, I'm not concerned about that with my officers, and I'm sure the chief over there wasn't either. But you know, there's always going to be a bad apple here or there. But more so, again, it's a check and balance because of the way the software works. And it's just something we want to at least put on the table to make the council aware of the need, and the request is there. All right, I think that is everything, right, gentlemen? For this year? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so let's stop there for a minute. I'm gonna go to the committee, citizen portion of the committee first, but before that, if Mr. Battaglia and Ms. Apatella, if you can please comment on how moving an item to the traffic trust account impacts the budget. For instance, does the 5% need to stay in? What does that do to long-term debt? So if either of you could opine on what the chief was recommending for the first item, the 101,000 patrol vehicle replacement.
I'm happy to jump in, Mayor, if Lizette's okay with that. The $101,000, if we pull it from the police outside duty trust account, it would reduce the overall debt that you're going to authorize with this ordinance. It would not really, so you would not need to put in the 5% because it would be fully funded through the outside duty trust. So you would save ballpark $5,000 on that in this year. But more importantly, it will reduce the cost of debt issuances in the future, right? And during my initial introduction, you know, I mentioned that you are paying about $400,000 in interest on short-term debt that we hadn't issued in the past. Those are ordinances that were adopted in 2021 and 2022. We have not issued any debt on 23 or 24. So this is something that helps a lot more down the road when we start to incur those debt payments. And in the beginning, it might be interest only, but then as the principal requirements start kicking in, the impact on the budget is pretty dramatic. So it might not, you know, you're talking maybe $5,000. It'll help in cash upfront this year from the capital improvement fund. But really the benefit is long-term.
And that is very important because currently, I believe, we're looking at about 5.3 million requests for capital, somewhere around there. And, we might say, well, we have these needs and we have to fund them. But in 5 years, that's more than 25 million in, debt service. And in 10 years, that's $50 million in debt service. And as the principal comes due, it becomes harder and harder for a council to meet its budgetary demands without doing layoffs and firing. So this is for the public. I know the council understands this, and I believe that the citizen committee recognizes this, but long-term debt becomes basically a death knell to a council's budget over time. Chris or Miss Lizette, I'm just gonna use people's first names if they come on. Chris and Lizette, if you could, what other, for the council's benefit, that the council's choosing to do this, and for the public's benefit and for the committee's benefit, what other elements of this request of these 6 items, 5 remaining if the council chooses to move the patrol vehicle into the trust account line, could be moved? Could the whole group be moved or only a portion of the group? Just in general, what sort of flexibility towards the budgeting process does the council have in regard to the capital requests of the police department?
I would say that, the vehicle, the radio car, the computer replacement, because that is also related to outfitting the vehicles, and the traffic signs and cones, those can all be moved to the outside duty trust account. Those are all used for traffic or vehicles, or related to vehicles. So I would say that, it's the 101 plus the 6 plus the 7 for a total of about 114,000. The vests, I think that they would probably have to stay where they are. And the Beast Evidence software, I do have a question on whether or not we have ongoing annual software requirements like upkeep. I know a lot of the software that I purchase is just an annual service contract as opposed to like a one-time purchase. So we have to consider whether that will be future budget impact as well. And then the LPR and the cameras are definitely capital.
Okay, so Chief, why don't we start there and then I'll go to the Citizens Budget Committee members. They may or may not have questions, but I'm going to try to do that for each department so that we hear them first. But if you could answer Chris's question about update costs for Beast Evidence software if we choose to go in that direction.
Sure. So there's always, I don't have the exact number, but anything, as Chris said, anything with software, it's how they get you, simply put, is the upkeep each year annual increase. On an item like that, I would say I don't think it's going to be too much, but there's going to be a cost there. I'm going to say it's somewhere probably around 1,000 to 2,000, maybe less though, because it's not something, it's kind of stagnant. It just stays and it's a good software and they don't have to do a lot with it. It's unlike our CAD system, right? Which is like thousands of dollars a year for upkeep. So I don't think it's that significant of an annual cost. Again, I would speculate between 1,000 somewhere around 1,000. All right. That's what I'd say about that. The one other thing, if I could, that I just didn't put in there, and I'm sorry about this, but with the town-wide ALPRs and the cameras, about half of that, or a little less than half of that, is the plate readers on the radio cars, and that we currently have. They're over 15 years old, and they will no longer be able to be repaired by the company. They're just not doing it anymore. So that is obviously a major concern because those cars roll 24/7 and they pick up plates nonstop, which is very, very important. That's been in place for a long time. So I just wanted to point that out because it's not just the placement of the cameras and the plate readers. I wanted you to be aware that, in fact, that's for the vehicles. It's for the
Okay,
vehicles
Chief.
use. And also the one other thing about them is, you know, I don't mean to sound like a salesperson, but currently it is, if you buy one of the ones for the car, you're able to get another one free. Again, I don't work for the company. It sounds like I do, but that's a real fact, because they're very expensive.
Okay, Chief. So I think for the council's benefit, before the next meeting, which is March 8th, you'll need to find out what the update costs currently are for the Beast evidence software. You'll also need to break that 170 into two different components, a replacement for current cars and not. And you'll also need to provide evidence about this, what you said about that they will no longer be repaired and their current condition, so that the council and the committee can make an informed decision on that. Appreciate that information.
Sure, no
All
problem.
right. Could I go, Donna Sanders, questions, comments, concerns?
Just one question. How many cameras, does that purchase throughout town?
So to wrap up the whole town, I think we need about a dozen cameras. Somewhere around, you know, I'm gonna say it's like 11 to 13, you know, again, my lieutenant oversees that. So, and if you look at the town, right, if you could picture of it, Donna, you've been around in town as long as I have, I think we know how to get in and out of town. You know, you're looking at our main thoroughfares, which are easy, right? The north and south side of the Kinnickinnick, Hackensack Ave, Halland Ave, Midland Ave. But then you have your areas of, you know, Bogart Road North End, Myrtle Ave North End, Summit Ave North End, all right, and some other areas down the south end. And the importance of buttoning up is not that the criminals, you know, they're very smart sometimes, but you want to, if you're going to do it, you want to do it so it's complete. So you're not leaving that little corner open where, sure enough, you know, by luck of the draw or by them being clever, they go in and out that area.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. That's
Sure.
the only question I had.
Thanks, Donna.
Al?
Chief, is this something that can be phased in, or can you, if you bought this today, could it be implemented by the end of the year? How fast can this thing be put in place?
So it would move along pretty quickly. You know, you have to wait for the product and then you have to install it. And installing it, you know, you're getting somebody out there. That's, you know, another part of this cost. Somebody's out there, they're on a pole truck putting this up. It's connection, it's the computer people involved. But it would move along pretty quickly if we decided to do it. I would certainly think by the end of the year we could have it in place.
So this isn't a multi-phase program because of installation or because of
Well,
providing the equipment, that it would take a number of years in order to do.
No, it wouldn't take a number of years, but what the good point that you brought up there, Al, is, you know, generally when you do these things, you know, and I respect the fact that you know, sometimes you're just not going to have the money, so you're going to do it in phases. But generally, when you do it, you want to do it with electronics and things like this. You want to do it, if you could do it at one time, it's most efficient, right? Because you have the people out there working, and you have the cameras that are all going to be at the same phase, right? These electronics, basically, you know, 6 months, right? If you look at a TV, PC Richards, it's old in 6 months. Cameras are basically, you can run into the same problem. They grow old. So if you can get your system to be on the same page, yes, you're going to take a hit every now and then to update them, but the system works more efficiently. You're not dealing with different softwares, for example. You're not dealing with different vendors, and you're also not having the people come out to say, hey, all right, we can do this many this year. We'll do this many next year. All right, well, we're out here. It would be great if we could put them in now because we'll give you this week to do all the installs. You know, that's just efficiency. You know, that makes complete sense to do it that way. But obviously, there's you know, we have to be aware of the budget too. But optimally, that would be the way to do it: is to do it, put it out there, get it up, and be in place.
Okay, this is you said it's roughly 15 cameras that you're looking at?
It's somewhere around there, right?
And your equipment has been updated, or your computer system is able to handle the installation of it? You got a data?
Yeah, so the neat thing about it is, like as I had mentioned, because of the way, because this information is so sensitive, the Attorney General mandates that this be kept at a central location, which is awesome for us because the amount of, you know, and I'm not a computer guy, but I know it's a word like terabytes, is like ridiculous. The amount of storage that you need. We don't have to worry about that. It all gets
It all
sent.
goes, okay,
It
that
all
all
goes to
goes
the
off.
county. And the other part of that is because then it's shared. The example I gave, my detective was able to jump into another system and found the car over at the town center. That's not our
Okay.
cameras, obviously, that we share those cameras.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to compliment you on the traffic trust fund and trying to, you know, save us some money that way.
Thank you, Al.
That was a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too, Chris.
Greg?
Good morning, Chief. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, just again with that trust account, that's awesome. Do you see that account staying solvent like for, you know, next couple of years? Like, would there ever be a possibility of tapping into that again?
Absolutely. Again, Chris will be the guy that has the hard number on it, but just in our numbers, again, this year, you know, and I'm generally conservative with my numbers, but I'm always corrected by Chris because he's the precision guy. But this year we should have cleared, after everybody's paid and done, somewhere around 600,000-700,000. The last couple of years we were certainly somewhere around, I'm going to say 400,000. And now we have a couple of years left. Now, I don't expect as much next year because we're starting a little late. We're starting in April. And the way the construction plan is being explained so far is that we're going to have 2 crews out. All right, so we may have a few less officers. However, if you keep in mind the fact that you saw a lot of out-of-town cars in River Edge, well, they won't be here if there's less details. You know, priority is River Edge, obviously. All right. So we certainly expect, you know, to continue to get these funds and put in there and you know, use it wisely. You know, obviously, you know, I don't intend to squander it anywhere. This is taking advantage of a moment. Say, hey, if we can get these cars in place, you know, we're going to be in a good place for a while. You know, we won't have to, you know, the maintenance on them, the warranties on them, all that type of stuff just makes common sense.
Yeah, no, nice job with that. And then the last comment I have with that Beast software, can that be covered? Like you said, and I know with some other programs that there's a yearly upgrade. Can that be covered under your current service contract in O&E?
It would be, yeah, that's where it would be. It would be
Right.
covered in the service contract, but I think Chris is merely pointing out that I think, Chris, is that it's going to have an impact. Even though it goes over to the service contracts, it's still something to be aware of.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be paid for out of a yearly cap. It's paid for, the upkeep of it moves over once the purchase is
Right,
there
right.
to operating.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
all I had. Thank you.
The basis of my question was I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have a $13,000 expense every year, because then the argument is that it's not really a capital expense, it's just an ongoing cost. But if it's the one-time expense to actually purchase and implement the software, and then it's just nominal annual increases or annual service contract maintenance fees, then we're okay.
That's exactly what it is, Chris. Thank you.
All right, the 3 citizen members that are remote. Ken?
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? All right, from the council, questions or comments for the chief?
I have a really quick question. I don't think we're getting a lot of bang for the buck on this capital budget stuff, but just real quick, chief, I'm just wondering, so if Oradell has cameras when people enter their borough, do we need cameras everywhere where people exit our borough? Same thing with Milford and Paramus, since we're all collaborating, coordinating, is there some overlap? Like, maybe we don't need a camera everywhere that people exit River Edge because someone has a camera where people enter Oradell?
That's a great question, and the answer is that another positive part of the fact that we do work through the county is that they keep track of that. So for example, the reason why I'm not giving exact numbers on the cameras, or we're aware, and again, my lieutenant working closely with the prosecutor's office, we're aware that they are looking at certain areas. They are looking, for example, over by Hackensack Ave. All right, so if they put a camera there, obviously we're not putting another one there. We're looking at the roads that are going to pertain to us, and that we know, I'm going to say the county will have a less interest in it, but certainly when the county, and then what happens, the county looks towards the state, right? Because the state throws them up on like 4 and 17 and different places like that. I know Paramus has some cameras there, but the plate readers are so it's a trickle down, and everybody wants the bigger dog to take care of it for them. Obviously, if the state did everything, it'd be great, even though it trickles down to taxpayers either way, but that's how that works.
Thank you.
Any other member of council?
Mayor, I have one.
Go ahead, Pretty.
Following Dave's question, hi, chief.
Hey, how are you?
Is it, the state and the county doesn't help at all with the high frequency roads for the cameras?
No, they do, sure. But, it depends on the location, right? So they're trying to do the state and we're trying to do the town. And when I say overlap, you're gonna look at areas to say, well, gee, what is the priority of, let's say, Kinderkamak and Ackerson, right? Kinderkamak and Route 4, let's call it. All right, that's a huge priority to us. All right. The state's going to look at that and go, not really for the state. They want to do their interstates. They want to do their state properties. The parking lots that are on the, on the turnpike and things like that. And then if you step down to the county, it's basically the same thing. The county will have more of an interest. Like I said, they seem to have an interest over at Hackensack Ave. So we're going to work with that. Obviously, we're going to take advantage of everything we can. And that's where I think we'll see it more being River Edge, because we don't really have a lot of state area. Is that we're going to see the county stepping in saying, hey, we're going to throw a camera over here. Hey, thanks, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Councilman Benson, Barry.
Hey, Chief, I had a question about the cameras. Did you say that they're for the roads and also into the police cars to upgrade those cameras?
Yes, so the not the cameras. So we have different systems, right? And some, we have what are called mobile video recorders, which are the cameras on the police car itself that have to deal with really the police car and the officer. They're not for gathering intelligence as much. They're the ones that. So when the police car is in a pursuit or there's somebody in the back that's under arrest, those cameras take care of all of that. We're in a good place with that. That system is running and it's fine. For the most part, we have an issue, we contend with it. The cameras that I'm talking about out of this system, which would be the ALPRs, the automatic license plate reader, go on top of the radio cars. And what happens when the radio cars are driving around is any plate that's around that car going in any direction in a parking lot, it just sucks all those plates in. And it records it, and it'll spit out right away if the car is wanted, if it's not registered, and that's what the patrol will use right away to say, hey, let me stop the car, let me do that. Investigative wise, we are able to go back, right? So we get a burglary and we say, hey, we had a description of a vehicle, we had a partial plate on a vehicle. We can take that information that we have and put it into a system. And the system has all the plates that have been run and gathered in River Edge, that the cars have been gathering, the 24/7 period, and do that comparison, and then investigatively start to look and focus in on individuals. All right, the plate readers on the cars have been around for a long, long time. It's just that they're phased out, and as certainly with the mayor's request, I can present the specifics on that. These companies, after a period of time, and I'm thinking we're around 15, 17 years, the companies either just leave or the equipment's just so outdated that they won't service it anymore. And that's where we've gotten, where we are. We certainly have gotten our lifetime out of it. And they have proven to be a very valuable tool. You're going to see them on, most, the majority of radio cars throughout the state in municipalities and, the troop cars and everything.
Any other member of council?
I do have a question. Thanks, Chief. Good morning. On the vehicle replacement, I mean, I think it's a great idea to consider the traffic trust account, but how many vehicles are we talking about this time around
This would be 3
in total?
in total. They're small cars, remember, so that's why we moved to them. Because the Tahoes that you see are, I generally ask for, like I said, I would be asking for 80,000. I believe I can get away with not asking for that this year to help prioritize these other needs. But these smaller cars are something that we took a look at. It's in the direction of, hey, can we be greener? And can we just pay less for these radio cars? And we did purchase them. And they've proven themselves so far. And I think, again, if there's an opportunity from Superintendent Melito, maintenance wise, we're in a good place, using less fuel, and they're not equipped like the radio cars, like the patrol cars. Those things are stacked with equipment. They're stacked with computers, the back stacked with stuff, the gun racks, the cameras that I mentioned, the plate readers. Those cars are loaded. These cars just have the lights. And they have a radio charger. That's it. We don't even put a radio in them. We use our portable radios. So they're as basically as efficient as we can get. If you remember, we talked about electric. I think sometime down the road we're going to be electric, but electric is just not proven itself in most emergency services yet.
Okay, and then just to level set everything that we think we're talking about, the traffic trust account. So Chris confirmed that we can actually move line, radio card, the top books and the traffic sign and cone devices under the trust account. Plus the vehicle replacement. Am I correct?
That would be to Chris, not to.
To Chris, yes.
Chris, would you please confirm of the 6, of the 6 items, I believe you said 3 items, and if you could confirm which 3 items we could move.
The 101,000 for the police vehicle replacement, the radio car computer replacement for 6,000, and the traffic signs, cones, devices for 7,000, for a total of 114.
Okay, great. And then just to finalize on my thought process here, once I'm going to, Chief, this is for you, the Beast evidence software, just to confirm that is a one-time purchase. It annual increases, maintenance will be out of the OEM line as services once and if that is implemented, correct?
Yes, the annual maintenance will fall under my operating under maintenance contracts. And again, I expect it to be minimal comparatively to my other contracts.
Okay, thank you.
But the chief is gonna get us those numbers by the 8th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
Itemized.
breakout for the cameras versus the cars.
Yep. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Chief, let's move to your operating budget and requests that you are making or any changes that you're making there or requesting there.
Everyone, it's page 47.
And Chris, if you can put that up, that'd be great. Okay, Chief, take it away.
All right. So I think I'm fortunate when it comes to my operating budget, and certainly when I talk to Superintendent Melito, who has a lot more going on. Mine doesn't move too much, as you can tell. I think I'm as efficient as I can be with this budget. This year, just taking, in simple looks, I had a minimal increase, $200 for law books. I had a decrease in crossing guard uniforms a little bit because we've caught up. We need more crossing guards, but we're okay with their equipment. The police reserves, while I show a 2,000 decrease in there, is because we're moving over to the SLEO 1s. I was
Sorry,
hoping.
sorry, Chief, what,
Where are you?
where line of, line item are you on right now?
Page 52.
All right, I was looking overall just about the increase and decreases, but if you want to go by line, that's fine too. I'm sorry.
Well, we want to be efficient, chief, so if you could move through the pages, but you can skip over any that you are really not making any major changes to.
Sure.
And if the committee or the council wishes to draw your attention back to that, we can after you do your presentation.
That works. Okay. So let's find the first change.
The first
First
one
change,
would be
105.
supervisors, full-time, an increase of 15.49% with a budgeted of 1.46 million.
Right, so, those are numbers that are just take place for contractual with increases in percent. They come from, really Chris generates those and puts them together. He's the numbers guy with that. There's not much I have to do with that. That has to do with contracts and if I'm correct, Chris, that's not just the wage increases, but salary and wages, so it includes the benefits in there too.
This is just the contractual salaries.
Okay.
And all the components of the salary.
Right, so, we look at what the contract says that needs to take place. And then if anything in the civilian area is where I give input. I don't have many civilians. I can say this, they certainly deserve what they're getting, if not more. But we also yield we wait to see what comes around for the increase for the civilians, I'll say, or that number that comes up after you guys do all your calculations, right? So there's really no input from me on that other than to say, hey, I'm certainly proud of everyone that works here. And I think anyone's making more than, anyone has anything outrageous salaries or outrageous increases taking place. All right. Are there any questions about that would fall in my area?
There's two things, chief. You've kind of opined that you don't think anybody's making. That's good. We appreciate that, but we don't want to be here until 2, 3 in the afternoon. So if you could
Great.
keep your comments a little bit more efficient. And the finance chair has a question.
I just have a question for Chris because we discussed this before, just for the public. Do you see the account 240004? It has a huge amount, but I just want Chris to explain that it's a combination of several different accounts.
Consolidation.
Yes, I've corrected that on my working version. So the 546 over here, 546,000 civilians part-time is actually inclusive of the dispatchers part-time and the crossing guards that are directly below it. You can see that those are zeros. The breakdown is 144,612 for civilians part-time, 260,178 for crossing guards part-time, and 141,213 for dispatchers part-time. So the numbers are not that far off from 2024. But yes, there was an error where those were consolidated all as civilians part-time. And technically they are all civilians part-time. It's just a subcomponent of the subcomponent that wasn't broken out, but it's fixed now on the current version.
That's for that page, thank you.
Indira, great. Chief, if you could just scan the page and talk about any
Right.
changes that.
So there's
you're
the next
initiating
change
on
would
this
be
page.
105, which is maintenance contracts, which I guess is page 49.
All right, everyone. skip to
and what I'm
page
looking at?
48.
Can we go back to 48?
Chief, well, is this a question of the chief?
Overtime, yes.
Let him finish,
Okay.
let him finish his presentation,
Okay.
and then we go to questions,
Okay.
only because it'll be a more efficient way of
Got it.
moving. Go ahead, chief, we're on
Right,
page
so the
49.
maintenance contracts tend to go up every year, and just a reminder for those who are new to the council and haven't been with me since I've been chief. You see, there is a jump from certainly when I took over in the maintenance contracts, but some of that had to do with just properly aligning accounts. In the first year or two, I realigned many of the line items in these accounts so that it was reflective more exactly what it should be. So basically everything in maintenance contract is a maintenance contract, and it wasn't out of place like it was for a while. So the increase this year is just increases on a few of the contracts themselves, but we had to deal with a situation where our phones and our radio recording system just crashed, and we couldn't repair it. So we had to replace that. So I was able to replace that with last year's budget as far as the the hard stuff that we had to pay for. But there is an annual contract with these things, and it's it's around $9,000 right there. So if you take the 9,000 that there really had no way around that for to record our phones and to record our radios. And then you add just the increases from that just take place in other areas, like Quick Tech has an increase, or CSI, which is our CAD system, has an increase. That's how you come up with that approximately $10,000 increase. All right, it is higher than normal, but that's because of the replacement of that recording equipment and what it cost. What we did with one of them is we made it so that we're because they seem to have a 5-year life expectancy, so we're leasing it because it seemed to be much more efficient. And I'm not big on leases, but in this case, it just makes sense when we did our homework on it and looked at other towns and things like that. All right, so that's that.
Can I just make a global comment about the math here? So in this column where it says percent over prior year, it's percent increase from what was budgeted over the prior year.
Correct.
So for example, here, what the chief's describing now, it's actually a 15% increase over the amount spent. It's a 9.37 increase over the amount budgeted. That applies to every item in this report. I just want to make everyone aware of that. Just a math comment.
No, I love math comments. Chief, continue. We're gonna hold off questions to when you finish your presentation, and we'll move back to page 47 and.
Sure. So
run
page
through.
50, line 174. This is the crossing guard uniforms. So we were able to bring that down 1,000 because we can catch up. It's basically so we caught up. All right.
I say we save electricity and keep it off.
No, it's hard to do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Page
Keep going,
51,
Chief.
page 51, line 185. Investigations. So that's just my investigations detective bureau. He's running things efficiently over there, and he hasn't got, that's just $500. That's just to keep anything that he needs in the detective bureau, which is minimal things. But we looked at that and we said, hey, we can bring that down to 150. So we did. 188 on page 52 are the police reserves, right? So this is the request I put in for Chris, and really everybody, but for Chris because he's the man that handles it. Is we know we're phasing out of the reserves. We have 3 left, and I hope they don't go anywhere because they're awesome. But we know we need to change that program, and we're going to move to the SLEO ones, which are basically the same character. It's just properly set in place with the state the way it should be in their hiring and in their training and all that. So we anticipate that this year we're going to get some people to put them through the academy, and these are volunteers at this point. I know I've spoken to the mayor about it, and some towns do offer a nominal amount hourly rate. This could be any one of you, by the way. This is not a young kid. It can be a young kid that wants to be a police officer, but they generally go for SLEO too. But it could be anyone in town that wants to basically help and volunteer. We get the minimal training. We got to suit them up though. We got to put them in uniforms and make them look like they need to look. So I'm saying by the end of the year, I want to have that program in place. And keep in mind that program saves us quite a bit of money, because when you see reserves out there, that means it's not a cop out there. If you see a cop out there when it could have been a reserve, that's money. So it's important that we get that program back up to where it is. And I'm asking for 4,000 to do that, right?
I'm just going to interrupt for a second for the public's benefit. SLEO stands for Special Law Enforcement. No, give me SLEO again, Chief.
Special Law Enforcement Officer.
Yes, so, so that people understand that acronym, and there are 3 classes, and that's what the chief is referring to when he uses the word SLEO. Keep going, chief.
Right, so line 200 on page 52 is the wellness program. We brought that down by 1,000 because they assure me that that's going to be the same cost. And by crunching our numbers, we know that that's what we need to cover that. The wellness program we started that last year, and that's where the officers every one of us is going to speak with a therapist for an hour. And where it goes from there is between the officer and the counselor. And that's it.
Aren't you also page 53 P card? But maybe you don't have a comment on that, that'd be fine, because I would move us along.
No, Gita took my P card away. They're in the process.
Okay. This time I'm gonna start with the council. Is there, and I'll start with the finance chair. Is there any item that you would like for us to look at regardless of the page it's on?
Yes, chief, I just want to go to page 48. Of the,
I'm sorry, what page?
48, and it's 240-013.
Right.
So it was steadily going down when you became chief, because I remember that was one of the things that you said that you were gonna definitely do, and you did it. I'm just wondering why it has gone up exponentially.
Sure. So it generally has to do, the curveballs of things that can happen are just, it could be personnel that are out. And that's what, a good portion of that is from last year. I had a couple officers that were out with surgery. One of them 900 hours, another one was 800 hours. And then a couple other ones were in the hundreds. So once those officers are out, that opens up for overtime. We also we have officers that are assigned to county details. We have an officer that's assigned to the SWAT team. We have an officer that's assigned to Rapid Deployment Force. And while we get a minimal amount of return as far as money back from the county or really county, they can cost. And because of the way programs have gone, there's a call out more for them. We've had a lot of unrest in the county regarding, what's going on overseas with protests, and they get called out more. So that cost us a little bit more. It's not a huge amount, but it is something that increased last year. And but that being said, we have had the SWAT team in town, I think 3 times since I've been chief, and every town in Bergen County benefits from the way this is put together by all the towns chipping in. So it's important that we continue to do that. But that could, that certainly was a slight increase. What I also will say, since you brought that, in bringing it up, starting this year, my secretary is, I'm critiquing the overtime even more closely. Because it's always a thing of mine. I just, want to know where the money's being spent and how. So we're looking at it on a daily basis. Basically, every day she's coming in, I'm getting a report to see what caused it the day before, and to see if we can even make it tighter than we have. Because it's obviously a very concerning number, as you were pointing out.
Yes, thanks, chief. And then just US traffic, it's page 51. Just one other question, 240-182.
What are the last numbers?
It's 182,
Page 51.
page 51. The
Right.
count is 182.
Right.
Is just that to keep that steady, or can we get that lower, or is that something you just want to do that?
Yeah, that's a
So-
big increase over actual prior years.
It has to do with, it's areas of traffic that don't really fall into the cones and stuff that, we need to purchase. And, the increase over, up from last year is just basically, it's just an increase in cost on items. And again, Sergeant Diamond, being as efficient as he is, he's, catching up and making sure all these things are in place. If we took you want to take a little off of that, you want to take 1,000 off of that, my concern would be is just that we don't fall behind in the place where we're going to be. We're trying to keep it where it is, but you know, you want to take 1,000 off that, I guess I could say, we'll take 1,000 off of that. I think, we'd be okay. I just like to keep it, I don't want to fall behind is the point, and then have to come to you a few years from now and say, hey, I need, 10,000 for it, but that's what that
Okay,
is.
better safe than sorry on that one.
That's kind of how I look at it, but again, if you know, $1,000 isn't gonna kill me on it, I'll just, we'll to figure it out.
No, that's fair. I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay, Councilwoman?
Hi, Chief. I have a question going back to the first page, 47, the superior full-time salary. Does that include the additional sergeant that you requested?
No, no, right, Chris?
This does include a promotion, yes.
A
This one,
promotion,
this one does, it includes the difference between the cost of a patrolman and a sergeant. So I've got that at about $12,000. So I did include that in this number.
all right, well, I have to be, and to be honest with you, it's a position completely, Chris. So it's not an increase, it's not a promotion.
Okay.
It's the
It's a-
request for a sergeant's position.
So if a patrolman was promoted to a sergeant, then you would also be hiring a patrolman? Right, because you wouldn't hire a sergeant straight away. It would have to be internal promotion.
Right, so we have a sergeant on deck. We have one waiting to be promoted. Right, so if he makes sergeant, he wouldn't be replacing a sergeant. He'd be a new sergeant.
But would you replace him as a patrolman?
Yes,
So then there would need to be a full new patrolman in, which would be in the patrol section. So that is not included. Right now, the only thing that's included is the cost of a promotion, but not the cost of a replacement patrol officer.
right. That's what I figured.
Okay, Chief, Lizette, if I understand it correctly, our table of organization is currently full. So you'd be asking, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I assume that you're asking that we would then be altering our table of organization.
Yes, we would be adding a sergeant to the table of organization. Right now, we're full to the extent of the patrol. If you recall, we made so that we could add patrolmen if we needed to. And in fact, we just did that. I have a captain position that's expecting to retire this year. And so without getting into great detail, not to confuse anybody, so that extra patrolman, if you would, is gonna move right in. So we won't have to worry about that. But for this purposes, we are adding a completely new position for sergeant.
Okay, I mean, it's up to the council, but one of the things we started with is that we were not looking to promote or hire this year. So right now, Chris, you would, unless the council wishes to make that move right now, you would be removing the 12K and not increasing anything else. But if the council wishes to consider it at this time, there'd need to be a motion and second to make a change up. If not, then because it requires a change in the table of organization. So I put it to the council now for debate. Would the council wish to alter the budget with the full understanding that they're considering altering the table of organization? I have to say that Councilwoman, not Councilwoman, yes, who is on the line with you, mean Magic Giacobbe?
Just the two of us.
So our labor attorney had recommended that we not recommended. His thinking was this is not something that we are required to consider because we just made a change. But it is up to the council to if the council is seriously considering making a change of organization, that would increase our supervisory staff by another patrol officer. So is the council interested in making that move, understanding that it would increase 12,000 plus a police officer. Chris, real quick, a police officer with health benefits, I think that's 150,000. That, no, maybe not for a patrol officer. That'd be about 125,000.
That's probably I mean, if they have a family plan, it's impossible to know what health plan that they would have, because the difference between a single and a family plan is probably $30,000 by itself. So if you're thinking 50,000 for the salary, potentially, but between $20,000 and $50,000 for health benefits, and another probably $20,000 in pension and payroll taxes,
Okay.
then yes, about $120,000 or so.
And that's not in here right now.
That's not in here.
No.
So that'd be raising the budget by another $120,000 to $125,000. Is the council, is the council interested in moving in that direction? If not, then so I need a motion to, for us to consider it, a motion and second to consider increasing the draft budget by about 125,000.
I guess.
If there is none, then it fails.
Is there a way for the chief to explain why he wants to do this?
Absolutely. Chief, can you explain why we would increase the budget by that much?
Yeah, how critical is it?
And
Right,
why
so-
we would need to change the table of organization when the last time we made the change, you had said this would be satisfactory.
Right. So what just for purposes of, because it's a lot to explain here, I did request several months ago to meet with the personnel subcommittee to give the details on this, and it was just decided to put it here, which is fine, but it is a lot to explain. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. What we've run into and what departments are running into really statewide are because of these body worn cameras, because of Oprah request, because of discovery request, we're inundated with having to review these. We're also required to review the body worn cameras for evaluation purposes, and there has to be random ones. There have to be take place by supervisors. It goes all the way up the chain, even through the chief to be involved. It's a lot of time. When something goes out for discovery, so you make a radio car stop, the officer gets out of the car, the cameras, the 4 cameras in the car are on. The camera on the officer is on. The camera on the backup officer is on. If there's an arrest and there's more officers involved, you could have 4 officers with all those body worn cameras on. We have to review every piece of footage before it goes out to a defense attorney. And what's killing us statewide, and unfortunately, they're not really doing much for us at a state level, are the Oprah requests. We literally have people putting in for Oprah requests because they just think it's cool to look at our videos. All right, but we can't send them out unless we review every part of that. Right now, my detective lieutenant, he can get inundated and just crushed by that, which means he's not doing his job to run the detective bureau and all the cases and things like that. And we're also exceptionally lucky to have a records clerk like Carol Byrne. She makes minimal salary. And because she is so good at what she does, she picks up for this a ton of time that we do. She can basically start to look through it for us, but at the end of the day, we still have to look for it. It's not the proper way. You shouldn't have your records clerk looking at these items, and she's not making the final decision, because at the end of the day, that's me. But I rely on my lieutenant certainly, but he's a paid police officer. And he's trained to do that, and he knows what we need to edit. You have to edit these things. If it's an aid call and someone doesn't have their clothes on, you have to take it out. If it's a domestic violence call and there's a child there, you have to make sure you edit certain things. If they say certain things, civilians put in a request for something, and there's talk on there about the individual's lifestyle or whatever it is, you have to edit that out. That's a ton of time. And what we've found statewide is that in little departments like ours, we're getting crushed. We're losing I'm losing a supervisor, and it needs to be a supervisory level. Why? Because as you know, we're paramilitary, and an individual needs to be able to say, hey, I need this, I need an explanation for this, and that's why I'm bringing it down to a sergeant rather than a lieutenant doing it, but I do believe it should be a sergeant. And that's real quickly put, guys.
So Lizette and I had the conversation with Matt Giacobbe just about that particular factor, and our labor attorney who handles this on a regular basis feels that it does not need to be done by a sergeant or even patrol officer. It can be done by a civilian. That in fact, his firm offers this for many police departments when they are overwhelmed, to cover it at a minimal cost. Lizette, if you could chime in on that conversation.
Yes, he said, it doesn't have to be a sworn officer, it could be a civilian. And, that his office has done that with Oprah requests, they do the blurring and everything, and it wouldn't even be an attorney doing it, it would be a paralegal at a much lower rate. So there are options.
I have to tell you, you're talking about Oprah requests, guys.
Yes.
That's a different animal. That's a portion of this, right? That's a portion of this. And we do yield to our attorneys when we have a question about what we're giving out for Oprah. You know, I don't know exactly how that would work, that they're gonna do this with the turnaround that requires, you know, a week to 10 days at any rate with the amount of footage. But I'm talking about discovery requests. All right, I'm talking about things that go out to attorneys, things that go out to individuals who are defending themselves. That's a completely, you know, Oprah's a big part of it, but we're also talking about investigations. And we're also talking about internally what we do. We have to review this as per the AG's guidelines to make sure that things are being reviewed for example, each shift or each week, sergeant has to review stuff. It has to be reviewed to make sure they're randomly reviewing, they're doing it properly. That all falls under, that's a supervisory spot. You can't have a civilian come into the police department and say, you know, hey, what are the patrolmen, how are the sergeants reviewing? That's just unheard of. Oprah, sure, you can have somebody look at Oprah, it still has to be approved. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for what comes out of the police department. You know, I don't know that Matt Giacobbe is going to say, you're not responsible anymore, chief. You know, we'll give that to a civilian to take care of. I'd be shocked.
So Chief, I'm not a lawyer. We simply investigated this recently. We can ask Matt to do a memo on this, a confidential memo for the council. And we can revisit this on March 8th, only for the sake of time.
That's fine. I think if I could confer with Matt on that, so he has an understanding, so we're on the same page, because I just don't think we're on the same page with that. That's also the reason why, you know, I would have liked to bring this up at a personnel subcommittee some time ago, because it's obviously very involved and it requires some detail.
Okay. Chief, why don't you have a conversation with Matt? Lizette, why don't you also have a conversation with Matt? And if necessary, the council could do an emergency closed session if there are questions before the 8th or after the 8th. Okay? Sounds good?
Mhm.
All right, Chief, please move on. Oh, no, not Chief, Council.
I have a question regarding this. Chief, based on your knowledge, can the captain cover this?
So
Reviewing
any,
the
you know,
operations?
I have people that could cover it, but what happens is their responsibilities are then taken away for what they do now, right?
Will that
And-
affect the captain's responsibility?
Yes, because the captain is responsible for other things. If you look, and again, I'd love to would have had it in front of you, but if you look at the table of organization and responsibilities, you can see, I would be able to show you where it would take away from what they're doing. And keep in mind, as far as you know, efficiency in the table of organization, for those of you who were here from me from the beginning, I removed 2 full-time patrolmen from the table of organization when I was made chief. You know, so it's not, this is for a reason. It's not to make the department bigger.
Thank you.
Sure.
My other question on the budget items is page 49. Number 051, police cars. Last year you spent over $7,000. What is that for?
I'm gonna have to ask Chris what that number is, because we don't have anything in that line.
That was the balance of the Chevy Pursuit vehicle.
Oh, okay, so we put it there, but it came out of the budget. It came, that wasn't extra, so that would be a zero. What happened is the vehicle went up in cost by the time we purchased it, and that's happening to me again, you know, that is this one that we're waiting for. By the time it came around, we had to move it up in cost, so that money, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, that money was taken from other lines and put there, and I think Chris put it there just for purposes of saying, hey, that's what we actually spent the money on.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that we charge everything to the account that has the appropriate description, but you know, to your point earlier, you know, when you have a line item, for example, that US traffic other that we talked about that had a $4,000 budget, but only $1,800 spent, that extra $2,200 was put towards this, right? A lot of these accounts that maybe were underspent, absorb the cost of the extra cost of the vehicle.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we don't need any money to put aside for the next vehicles or anything.
No, it's expected with the cap or you know, or in this case, the trust fund that will make the full purchases through. This is a unique situation where the cost of the car can go up, and I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. And again, it's something that I personally have brought up. I am on the executive board of the Bergen County Chiefs Association. It's something I personally brought up that I think we need to address statewide. I think we look at these methods of purchasing and everything looks good on paper until you really do it. And it's not working the way that I think it should be.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is on page 52, the police reserves 188. Can we keep it at 2,000 or you need the 4,000 since we haven't used?
What number was it? I'm sorry.
188, page 52.
So that's where, again, we're moving to that special law enforcement officer 1. And we have 2 or 3 reserves left, guys. And they're, again, I'd love them to be around forever, but they're aging out and that program is aging out. So in order to get us to where we need to be, I think that $4,000 is what we need to do to suit up these new officers and take care of their training. Uniforms are
discussed.
very, very expensive.
Go ahead.
And very quick. Hi, Chief. On page 52, the wellness program, which was there from last year, the insurance doesn't cover the wellness program for.
No, once an officer goes there, if the officer chooses to continue, then it goes to their insurance. That's between them and the counselor. This is a program where we're saying, hey, everyone in the police department is going to talk to a counselor at least once a year. It's becoming more widespread throughout the county, and it's something that I jumped on board. It means a lot to me as far as the mental health of the officers.
What I heard from my profession that a lot of the mental health programs and are being covered these days from the insurance, especially after COVID. So I was just curious.
Sure. I think, you know, and Lizette's aware of this, and Lizette and I talk throughout the year about, you know, because different things that come up where we have to get officers' physicals and taken care of different things. And this just doesn't seem to be one of those areas that's covered by the insurance, unfortunately.
And just for my knowledge, what is an e-ticket, the amount that we are spending on an e-ticket? What is an e-ticket actually?
Sure. So those are numbers that, you know, interestingly enough, that's a number that you like to see go up because that means the officers are writing more tickets. We have to pay for those tickets. You know, the way the system that's used and the actual tickets and, you know, themselves that are generated. It's the process, it's the upkeep and the records keeping. It's a system that we use. So when that number goes up, you see I went over budget last year by $460. I'm okay with that because that means they wrote a lot more tickets. Hopefully not to you guys, but they wrote a lot more tickets.
And the publications and office supplies, that's separate? Like the office supplies includes the computers and everything, or just the
What line is that?
publications?
What line are you on?
It's on page 49,
49, what is the
What
last
account?
3 digits?
because it says office
Pretty-
supplies, but it
Pretty,
also,
what are the last
it's
3
one,
digits?
it's 033 and 036.
On page 49?
On page 49, 033, the first two,
033.
they are.
Right. So publications,
separate.
or that's the minimal amount that I use to actually buy, like the law books that the detectives and patrol use, you know, that they actually refer to. We buy a couple a year. We've gone over last year, so that has to do with those publications. I put that in there. That probably has to do with the academy. But you can see we're right around 200, but what we noticed is we went over last year by a large amount, but that had to do with another purchase, kind of along the lines like Chris said. We realized we needed to purchase something that we normally don't, and we said, hey, where are we going to put this? And it properly would go under publication, but it's not a regular item that we buy annually. But in doing so, we looked at it and we said, hey, you know, these annual books that we are purchasing are going up in cost, and we've been, you know, probably putting them in another line here or there. But that's just the cost of publications of books. You know, we do have some hard books that the officers use on a daily basis when they're, you know, they make an arrest, they need to look up a law, they need to look up procedure on how to type complaints, things like that.
And the 036 covers the computers? I'm just curious.
That's so 036 are office supplies. So office supplies are paper, staples, pens, pencils, pads, and you know, other items that are needed just throughout all the desks that take place within the way we operate.
Okay.
If I have a question, in the salary and wages, in your request for new sergeant, you specifically say that it would not cause for a new hire of a patrol officer, since patrol officer Mastrillo Piero is ready to take Blue's place.
Correct. It wouldn't, but keep in mind that that doesn't include if we have a retirement, right? Because if there's a retirement, then I replace somebody. But as we stand right now, Officer Master Piero stands as an extra officer, and as I think I explained when I met with the mayor and council a couple meetings ago, it's proven to be worked out way to our advantage because of the things that I had happen with scheduling. I had an officer out for 3 months. Master Piero jumped right in. He jumped in from being a class 2 who's receiving $45 an hour to a patrolman who receives a lot less than that. And because patrolmen start at the bottom of the scale, class 2s are just different. They only get 45, they don't get benefits. He would say, well, he's going to get benefits, but he's not. Many of my young officers are still off their parents' benefits, which is a good savings to us. So we wouldn't be hiring a new officer. We wouldn't need a new officer if we did this promotion because we have an extra sergeant sitting there.
Right, but you just said that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just said that Chris didn't include the new patrolman, but you said we need a new patrolman in the operation.
So we need the position to be there, but we actually have the body, if that makes any sense.
I'm
No.
sorry, I'm confused.
Okay, so right now I have 5 sergeants, right? I'm saying I want to make a 6th sergeant. Well, how do I get that sergeant? I take a patrolman and I make him a sergeant. Well,
That's 12,000.
then you say, well, what about that patrol position? And that's Master Piero. He's already there. He's an extra right
So
now.
we don't need to, so even with promoting a patrolman to sergeant, we don't need to budget for another patrolman. Is that what you're saying? It's okay. We don't need to budget for another patrolman. Seems like that's what you're saying now, Chief.
If you move the sergeant that's ready to be promoted, it's a patrolman. If he goes up, yes, then you're just adding It goes back to Chris's original calculation. You're just adding that 12,000, I think you said it was, Chris.
That's what I have included in the draft of this budget.
Right.
So we don't need the 120,000.
That would be 14 officers and 6 sergeants if to put numbers to it. It would
Right.
include the $12,200. If I take out
I'm
the
just-
12,200, I would be at 15 officers and 5 sergeants.
So basically, the difference is the way I'm explaining it, I'm being very, like, I want to make sure everyone, you understand that the officer that's going to be moving up is an officer that we have because he's an extra right now. So that we're paying for him now, yes. But I didn't want to say, yeah, it's only 12,000. And then you guys go, wait a minute, Mike, who is that kid? He's somebody that he's an extra right there, but we are paying for him, and the reality is yes, obviously Chris is right. It would be that cost, 12,000.
Chief, if the budget wasn't so tight, this would probably be a different conversation, but the budget is currently 421,000 over. So that's why we need to understand. And the council does not need to replace the patrol officer. If the council chooses to promote the sergeant and change the table, but that's a discussion for later on. Right now, we're just doing a budget discussion. Is there any other questions from the council before I move to the committee?
Yeah, I just have one question, and Chief, as brief as you can, timing is against us. Page 54, line item 144 and 145. I'm a bit confused. So we're replacing the reverse 911 with a new system. That's one. And then on 145, we're budgeting almost triple, if not more, for reverse 911 for $4,000.
So we're replacing the system with Rave, and there's actually a cost savings there. I'm looking for it. So you see reverse 911 was 3,900 and 1,500 for those service and calls. And what we're doing is we're moving over to a system called Rave, and that's $4,000. So you don't see anything in the 144 for 2025.
Okay.
So if you add 3,960 and 1,500, you're coming up to over 5,000. So there's a savings of over $1,000 by moving to this more updated and efficient system.
Okay, so that line 144 is just depleted in a sense because we're moving to a new system, which we're still calling reverse 911 on the
Right, that's up
145.
to, and I yield to Chris on that because, he's the guy that puts these lines together. And I never want to mess with him because he's so accurate. But that my request was to say, hey, we're going to call that Rave now because that's what it is.
Yeah, it just got me confused and I
Sure.
didn't understand what we were doing.
Understood.
Thanks.
Anyone else in the council? Ken, question?
No, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to just open it to the group. Greg, Donna, Al, any questions? Speak up.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, Madam Chair, it is up to you. Do we wish to make any changes now? Do we wish to make them later? Or maybe there are no changes to be considered? But so for sense of process, do we want to make some changes now or hold off until the 8th?
Yeah, I think we hold off until the 8th to get the.
For both operating and capital or
Well, definitely for capital, because you want the breakdown of the
well, the council should get the
yes,
breakdown.
yes, we should get the breakdown of that. And then also for the possible sergeant's position.
Okay, any other items that you or the council feels we should increase or decrease at this time, or do you want to wait until the 8th?
We can wait till the 8th for everybody to be.
Okay, so the council and the committee needs to take notes and highlight maybe on a separate sheet of paper if they wish to revisit any of the line items that have been discussed today for increase or decrease. The public might be thinking increase, come on, we have in the past, in fact, last year we have. Okay, Superintendent Melito, we're going to, we're not going to go to you right yet, we're gonna go to you afterwards. If you wanna make a comment about the police budget when we go to the DPW, you are free to do so. I think we need to take a bathroom break. So, why don't we all come back in, no later than 10:05. So we are temporarily suspended until 10:05.
Many thanks to Chief Walker.
Yes,
Yes,
many
Yes,
thanks,
thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
Excellent
Thank you,
job,
Chief.
very thorough. All right, I'm gonna go use the restroom. There are big.
Thank you, guys.
I finished all my tea already, though.
Can we mute ourselves?
Yes, I think we can.
I call back to order the meeting of the mayor and council and the citizen budget committee on the budget. Very good. Everyone's up and running. Indira, as the chair, is there any action you want for us to take before we move to DPW?
Not at this moment.
Very good. Jason, there you go. Jason, can you hear me?
Yes,
Jason,
yes. Mayor, how you doing?
good, good. So let me first introduce you, Jason Melito, Superintendent of Public Works. Jason, we'd like to start, are you okay starting with capital again? We'd like to start with capital, but I saw that your hand was up for the police presentation. Is there any comment you want to make about that before we move into your capital budget?
Yes, it's just basic on all the capital from all the other departments. That actually affects my operating budget, like was explained last year. Cars will affect it, obviously parks will affect it, and what I can actually look at and possibly take down as I go through my budget. So I just want the council to understand that. So not an understanding where you guys are at this point. I can't really try to go through my budget with you guys to take it down, because capital was a big understanding of what I can remove in operating, because there is stuff I can remove if capital's approved. Just that.
Okay. We're not going to approve, I don't think the Indira, as the finance and budget chair, is the process she wants us to follow, and correct me if I'm wrong, Indira, is that we'll be making decisions at the beginning of the meeting of the 8th for departments that have already presented. So Jason, you might need to be at the meeting of the 8th and then say, oh, well, based on what you did with capital, I'd be making these changes. Jason, you need to leave your mic open.
Okay, I'm sorry, I hit that.
Is that okay, Jason?
Well, I think it's a big impact on some of the stuff that Chris would have to try to figure out before the 8th to get you an honest estimate of what he's going to be able to come back to you on. So I think, I mean, it's definitely.
Well, the problem is we need more information about the townwide cameras and license plates readers. How about this? Indira, would moving and Lizette and Chris, start off with you, Chris. Chris, how much money is in the trust fund for police vehicles?
For the outside duty trust, there's about $520,000 plus what we've collected this year, which there's always a delay with paying the officers versus when we collect it, but it's about $130,000 right now.
Okay, so Indira, would you consider moving the 3 items Chris has already said to the trust and then that impact?
Yes.
Okay, would you make that motion, specifically naming them?
Okay. Motion to move patrol vehicle replacement,
101,000.
101,000. Radio car computer replacement, 7,000. Traffic sign.
6,000.
Oh, sorry, 6,000. Traffic sign cone devices, 7,000. Into the,
Traffic trucks account.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is so moved. Chris, will you please make those corrections? So the only item other than, so that moves 3 items out. I personally would recommend if, unless you don't want to do it, right now I'd approve the ballistic vests and the ballistic vests and leave the other 2, unless you also want to do the Beast evidence software, because we still have questions on the townwide cameras. How do you feel? How does the council and the committee feel about whether or not we should approve the Beast evidence software and the ballistic vest replacement?
You mean moving those as well?
Moving those as
Yes.
well. They're relatively small items. How about let's do it one by one. Is there any objection at this time to moving police vest replacement?
No.
No.
And from the committee?
No.
No? Okay, could I have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved. Is the council and at this time ready to consider the Beast evidence software? Or does it need more time?
Good.
I suggest that we wait until we
I
understand.
do have my hand up.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Go ahead, chief.
The report back from my lieutenant is it's less than $1,000 a year.
Okay,
to maintain it.
to maintain it.
Yes.
So I mean, $1,000 in the operating budget in addition.
okay.
So is the council ready to consider it at this time, or would it rather wait till the 8th?
We can consider.
You can do it now.
Okay, I would, if a motion to move it is on the floor, we would consider that now.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It's open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so the only one that we're going to be waiting, Jason, and I don't think this would affect you, is the license plate readers in the county.
No, man, that wouldn't affect me. It was more of the patrol cars at this time.
Okay, Jason, take us, let's start with the Capitol. Please run through it. I should point out that we have only an hour and 45 minutes left, and we are hoping to get to a rec also, since rec has budget concerns too. I mean, capital concerns too.
We'll go through this quick. All right, Mayor, I'm asking for, so I'm asking for 2 Ford F-550s. These are to replace 2009 and 2010 that has seen better days. They have a lot of rust, a lot of repair costs going on them, and they're no longer running at full capacity. One's a diesel, that's why one's a little more than the other. One's a diesel, one's a gas. Obviously, we need diesels to push leaves. These trucks obviously snowplow, push the leaves into piles, and pretty much are run every day. They're essential to the operations down here. The
So
street,
Jason, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. You said you're replacing 2, so the 240,000 is to replace 2, correct? And you're
Yeah,
going
for
from
both.
diesel gas
that
to
is
gas?
for 2, yes.
All right, keep going.
The street sweeper is already 12 years old. They have an average life of 10 years. I wanted to put this on here. I was looking to replace this in 2027. But after going to the league and seeing the new updates on the EV mandates in New Jersey, we were lucky to that the federal EV mandates have backed off. But we still have our own state mandates. We could wait and take a chance on this, but if we do and we have to go electric on this on the sweeper, because it would have to be the next item coming in, because there will be a mandate for how many vehicles you have per every one EV is to judge how many gas vehicles you have coming up. That is a mandate. It's not a mandate for emergency services, but we are not considered emergency services, believe it or not, the DPW. That is OEM, fire, and police. If this does go electric or hybrid, you would be at 650,000 to 700,000 for this unit. So this is the decision. If we wait and nothing happens, obviously the price will go up. The price will stay the same, but in 2 years, if this does happen, you double the price of the sweeper, if not more at that time. But it is a unit that is on its way out and only has 2 more years left of what it should be replaced. And we have been putting a lot of money into this, and the hydrostatic clutches and the motor have not been touched yet. And they're the big items on this unit. Again, this does the street sweeping throughout the year. This also gets used every day during leaf season for 3 months out of the year. And it's another important piece of equipment down here. The 2 20-yard dumpsters are to replace 2 dumpsters that are 12 years old that are rotting out on the bottoms of the sides that are no longer roadworthy. We've had a welder in here already weld them a couple of times, but when rust is rust, you really have nothing to weld onto. So we don't want a catastrophe on the roads. And they are two dumpsters for 20 grand. They're 10,000 a piece. It's not 20,000 a piece. You want me to keep going or?
Absolutely, brevity.
Okay. So road, sidewalks, and curbs, the ADA ramp program, we're pretty much caught up where PSE&G will be doing their work for the next 2 years. So we don't have to, there's no need to keep going down on the south end until we're about a year out from PSE&G, so we can wait on that. The New Jersey grant, preliminary expenses. Chris, do you want to talk on that? Because should there be money there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I don't have anything in there right now. Those are just placeholders from previous years. I think that we have money reserved from last year for preliminary expenses for the DOT grants. So we didn't include anything this year. I can delete those lines from this report for now.
No, Chris, leave them in as blanks.
Okay.
Because it becomes a public record and it's good to have it remain there as a blanks.
All right. We good? Road program, curbs and sidewalks. This is to replace Clarendon Court curbs and sidewalks, which are not up to DOT standards. This is also in the PSE&G paving zone for this upcoming year or two. So we're trying to get ahead of that so we don't do it afterwards. Obviously ripping up the streets that we would be paving or PSE&G. So this is pretty much to stay ahead of them. The road program, last year we were lucky. We didn't have to pave one street. That was all PSE&G honored their commitment with due to a problem they found on their paperwork. So they still honored it. So we were lucky. So I know it says 838,000 this year, but last year we didn't have to spend what was allotted. So that sort of slid over. So it wasn't debt from last year. I'll let Chris talk a little more on that.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. That's the full amount, but the balance would actually be about 124,000 this year. We've got just under $797,000 from last year left over. So when you read the actual ordinance, we might be doing $921,000 worth of work, but we're only going to be authorizing an additional 124 on top of what we have available. I just wanted to include the full 921 for clarity that, we're not doing $124,000 worth of work. We are going to be doing over 900. It's just that we do have a 797 available from last year.
Jason, because the question's going to come up, would you please expound on what that 900 and what the 900 and change?
Yes, so the 900 and change will be to do, so PSE&G is going to have allocated roads. Obviously, we use So instead of paving half streets, they're gonna do full allocated roads, and then we're gonna do our full allocated roads. At this time, this is to do June Court, Atkinson Street, Manning all the way from Kinnecamack to Monroe Court, North Drive, Summit. Some of these streets are outside the paving due to they're not even within the next 7 years of PSE&G. So Summit, we can't go on anymore. Magnolia, Oak, and Millbrook. There is an actually slurry seal component to this as well for Fifth Ave, due to Fifth Ave being a grantable street through our DOT and us nearing completion in the next couple of years on Bogert with curbs and sidewalks. We will be looking to move the grant to Fifth Ave. So right now we're trying to lower costs by not having to do ADA ramps or anything through the capital budget, and wait till we get to the grant portion where we can move the grant to that street. This is actually considered a maintenance factor, so it doesn't trigger ADA ramps to be replaced. It's actually and it lasts about 8 years. So I do have Fifth Ave from Continental to Halland. I have Halland Ave to try to preserve that road because this is a third of the price or less of paving from Paramus to Kinnecamack. And I got Continental Ave from Kinnecamack to Elm, and then from Millbrook to Paramus border, skipping the area that we had the grant on a couple of years ago. So this will allow us to do all of those streets. This also includes professional services and police protection.
Jason, the streets of Bogert and Elm that were not fully repaved after PSE&G's work, are they going to be repaired or repaved?
That was moved from this year to next year. The only reason why, because PSE&G's new format of a four section, for this one section, they have a 4-phase. So they will not be completed until probably late next year. So we're looking at 2027 as possible paving. And with some of the streets, like I mentioned in Summit, Magnolia, Oak up north, that's not even going to see PSE&G project. I felt like it was necessary not to sit on the money at this time and budget for it more next year, if not 2027.
So the part of the street that was ripped up in Bogert is that was not paved by PSE&G is not going to be paved by us this year?
No, so we're going to extend the curb straight out, and that will be phase 10. That will be next year's paving. I just want everybody to know that will be next year's grant. I'm sorry, to finish out the rest of Bogert Road and then pave all of Bogert Road. So it will not be paved in 2026 2025, because PSE&G still has to do gas line all the way down to Continental on that street. So obviously we don't want to pave just for them to rip it up. And the little portion from Wayne Ave to Manning right now that's ripped up is just going to have to wait until they're completed, and then we're going to go straight down the whole street with the grant.
Okay, great. Keep going.
So we're done with roads. Let's see. So the next we'll go to, you got facilities on here.
Fire Company 2, apron, concrete, and parking lot.
Oh, okay. Parking lot you got. Hold on. Let me get there. So the parking lot is Fire Company 2. This was on 3 years ago to get paved. There were some questions on some other issues. Plus we had cost increases that year. That was in 2022 when everything went haywire after the budget. So again, I'm looking, it's gotten really bad over the last couple of years. So I'm looking to complete everything down there. This will include curbs, some front apron work, if not most of it, the back sidewalk, a concrete pad, a storage facility shed for that's in behind Company 1, and a retention wall that's falling over, holding it up. The retention wall is probably, Chief Caridi could probably tell you how old that is, but it's made out of wood and it's all rotted. So this will do the rest of the work on Fire Company 2, which will pretty much complete the outside and inside down there with minor repairs to go.
Keep going.
Okay, so now we're to what's next? We're facilities.
Yeah, it's emergency repair program.
Oh, emergencies. Okay, our emergency repair program. Let me just go over here so it's done. These are obviously every year we fund these programs. This is for sewer and storm drains. So if we have a collapse or a problem in the streets, we pretty much go to this. We get certification from our engineer, and this is what repairs the sewer line or the storm drain line. So we're not shortfalled on any money. We do build up year over year. As Chris will tell you, we have probably some left over from 23 and 24. But again, you can have a repair that ranges up to $300,000 sometimes. It all depends how deep and how far you have to go.
Keep going.
And then
Keep going.
And then emergency buildings and grounds, that's a line that we established in 2022. That assists us with any major repairs on buildings that we don't see. It assists us like the HVAC, and HVAC goes out. Obviously, my operating budget doesn't account for a $16,000 hit. So this is just a way to lower the OE costs, if I'm correct. Just having this off to the side. Obviously, we don't pay on it until we use it. So again, this is a way to lower that cost. Both of these are really. All right. What's next on your sheets? Chris?
DPW, Salt Shed, Mechanics Bay,
Yeah,
Borough Hall.
I'm trying to read off of Chris and go off of mine. They're a little different. Okay, facility improvements. All right, hold on. All right, so facility improvements. To finish up Borough Hall and really areas in the public safety building, I'm looking to remove the falling down wallpaper and and paint the whole interior with an outside company, which the wallpaper's been there for ever since it was redone in I think 1988. So it's going to give it all a fresh coat of paint, get all the wallpaper removed, get all the glue removed, and all that. The public safety upgrading of the lights will let us go to LEDs and get away from the fluorescent bulbs that are quite frankly priced out of, have significantly increased over the years. The public safety windows are to finish the windows around the building from individual offices that are leaking and have been or the original windows to the building of that. To the building of the original windows since they built that. So that will help us get more of a lower, obviously, gas bill and all that, and to stop the leaking and possible mold infiltration. The fire company first floor for Fire Company 1, I'm sorry, the second floor. This is an original floor. It has sticky tiles, 12 by 12 sticky tiles that are popping up and creating tripping hazards. So this will replace about 3/4 of the entire floor upstairs, besides the meeting room. The meeting room's floor is fine, and by the offices out front. So this will do their whole back office, their whole back room, all the hallways into their utility room off to the side. And then, of course, the replacement of the salt shed. This is for the planning and design. This is for the planning and design. We started funding this last year. Understanding how it's funded for planning and design. We to do this right with our geotech surveys and all of our environmental stuff and our architectural design. Last year was more or less going to be able to cover a lot of the engineering and permitting aspects of this. So I came up with $300,000 on top of the extra 100 we put in last year for a total of $400,000 for all the permitting, design work for the for engineering and for architectural and environmental. And then what's next?
Sewer improvements.
Sewer improvement, storm drain. That should say storm drain improvements, but sewer storm drain. All right.
There
So-
are two. It says sewer,
Yeah.
Chris, if you can scroll up a little bit. It says sewer improvements, 100,000. It says, second line sewer improvement, storm drain line replacement, 205,000. So there's two separate items.
Okay. Yeah. So one is the emergency line, Mayor, that I talked about before with the buildings
Yep.
for sewer replacement. And the other one is for, so on Mohawk, we have bad flooding over there on the roads that ice is up. We have ponding on all the driveways. When that was constructed, there was no storm drains put in Mohawk or Zabriskie or Cherry, except for one on the end that goes right out to Oak Ditch. We've done, it's sort of what we've done on Fenway 2 years ago to relieve all the icing condition over there and the ponding. This is the same thing that we have going on, and it's actually a safety concern to us because this year it actually was iced over the complete road, about 4 inches thick. Logier Terrace is on the bottom of Logier and Van Saun. This will assist with the icing right by the ADA ramp. We will put a basin in there and run about a 20-foot line to the piping that's already in the road for storm.
Okay.
And then what's next? Anything else? That's it?
Now, Jason, I'd like for you to opine, if necessary, on turnout gear for the fire department. No, well, that doesn't involve you at all. I'm sorry, let me just look through it. Opine, if anything, on the KGB field, pickle court, and batting cage. Does that affect your budget in any way? Baseball, softball field, and field house, does that affect your budget in any way? Recreation, vehicle or cart, does that affect your budget in any way? And engineering, KGB field and Memorial Park, does that affect your budget in any way?
So yeah, so it'll affect my budget to see what you guys do, because obviously if you're going to redo the fields, that's going to affect the budget on topsoil. That's going to affect the budget in a couple other areas that we have, seeding, everything. So I just need to know the extent of what you're going to do there, because it also is fencing, right? The fencing is falling apart. I got to just see what, obviously I work with Joe on his budget. Obviously we work together on that, and we have to see what the extent of what the upgrades are going to be, because that's going to determine how much we got to repair to keep it going for this year.
Okay. Jason, anything else you want to say about the capital before I ask for the budget committee to ask questions?
No, that's all, Mayor.
All right, Donna, any questions? Comments?
I might have missed it, but what was the seasonal pole decorations for 25,000?
Oh yeah, that was a different line. So right now we have decorative poles, decorations that go down Kinnekumack Road for the holiday season. I put that in there because all of the decorative things were bought in 2010. They're 15 years old and they've been through 4 floods due to where we store them in this container. We've actually moved them lately, but they are fading and they are going away. They're not really in great shape. We did lose a couple and get insurance claims for them. And if you noticed this year, the ones down Main Street in front of Total Wine were the brand new ones that were bright. The other ones are half, not lit, not looking good. So that would replace half of them. And that's all we would need right now, because hopefully the veterans banners that have started picking up lately will give us every other pole. We can remove one and pretty much just hang a banner instead of a light. So that is to replace pretty much everything along Kinnekumack Road that we're going to need.
Thank you.
Yep.
Al?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Greg?
Jason, the 2 Mason dumps,
Uh-huh.
could one get pushed off to next year, or are they both pretty in bad shape?
They're both in bad shape. One's turbo is ready to go out, and the other one that doesn't move, and it's rusting in the frame. And the other one's just it's running at half power as it is. We're just trying to use it as a water cart at this point in the back. They are 15 years old now. They're both a 2009 and a 10, and everything we do with them, they're just shot.
Right.
They were the latest leaf pushing trucks for the last 4 years, and that
Right.
killed them. So
And when you buy them, are they off state contract?
yes, they are. We buy them off of Route 23, who's a state vendor.
Right. Would there be any savings going with Sourcewell or Houston Galveston?
No. So with the problem, Sourcewell doesn't have Fords on there. You're better off, first of all, to go off of Sourcewell, you got to pretty much, so the big trucks, right? When you do the big trucks, you go off of Sourcewell because like International, Mac and all them are off of Sourcewell. There's not really a state vendor for them. Okay. The state vendors are your bodies, right? And usually they don't want to buy the truck with body. So you go off of Sourcewell to get some of the big trucks like fire trucks, or the sweeper will be off Sourcewell. For the Mason, you're going to get your bang for your buck is through the state vendors or the county co-ops.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we've been purchasing all of the police vehicles through, is the county co-op, ESENJ, and or our trucks go through Route 23, or you can go to Winners. It's both the same. Once they bid the specs, that's what it is.
And with the street sweeper, is there any like prepaid discount? Like if the borough puts down?
So the street sweeper, I mean, you could put it down, but the problem is you need full funding for capital, right? So
Correct.
That's up to Chris. I think until we get the capital budget approved, I don't believe anything should be, I mean, we could put a letter of intent, but this is an orderable vehicle. This is not something that's on the lot. So a letter of intent is pretty much telling them you're going to buy it, but until you could put a letter of intent, the council's got to approve that with Chris. I can't just, and usually for, I guess, an item that big, I would suggest it gets funded and the estoppel period goes over. Plus you got to put it in the paper. This is not something I could just go to Elgin. There's a whole process with source.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay. Thank you. Nice job.
Ken?
No, I'm good. Greg just asked the question I was asking.
Indira?
No, not at this moment.
Anyone on council? Barry?
I just have two questions, Jason. Just so I understand conceptually, so this street sweeper, we want to buy it now because in 2 years they might change the rules and we have to get an EV one, and that's going to cost us twice as much.
Yes, exactly. Because right now you could buy it as diesel. Down the road, I'm not going to be able to do that if I got to integrate electric into my fleet.
Okay, and they won't change the rules where now you're going to have to upgrade that anyway in 2
No,
years.
you would be grandfathered. They can't force you to. They can't force you to say, "Oh, you bought this, now it's done." It would be a grandfathered rule. It's just the next thing we buy. When they introduce that rule, whenever that rule goes into effect or whenever it goes up, the next thing you buy would have to obviously be electric, so you get the percentage of your fleet to where they want it eventually.
All right, thank you. And one more question, just from the tiles on the floor, the 23,000, I know it's a tripping issue. Is there any way to just kind of tape it over and just, it won't look great, but
At this time, I wouldn't. These tiles are all cracking. They're coming up, and once the glue is gone, and Chief Greg could probably attest to this. Once the glue starts coming up on them, and you start getting things under, they just start popping up. I mean, every corner is starting to roll upstairs. So I tried to cut the expense on this by not doing the meeting room floors because they still look in really good shape. And with talking with the chiefs and stuff, they're okay if the floor looks a little off. So, the hallways and all that are all done in that area. So,
thank you.
Anyone else on council?
I have a quick question. Hey, Jason.
hey, how you doing?
Again, the dump trucks, the Ford 550s, the 240, is that net of any type of trade-in value, or do they have any trade-in value?
So they don't have trade-in value. What we do, and Lizette back me up on this because she usually does all the gov deals. So what happens is as soon as they come in, we get them all. Obviously, they get outfitted with a new plow. they'll go to get a new body, the body put on, and then our guys do the lights in-house here. What happens is once they get put in, the old trucks go on gov deals and get auctioned by a third party. And then that money, wherever Chris puts that money, I think it's the general fund, but don't get me wrong, that's where that goes.
So there's some potential revenue there that's been accounted for in our budget.
Oh, you'll get some revenue from these trucks.
Not accounted for because it's an unknown amount,
Yeah.
so we can't anticipate it.
Okay.
And then we also can't anticipate when he won't take one off the road until the other one is on the road. And, it could happen that with ordering and everything else, it doesn't come in until next year.
Yeah, the ordering just on the sweeper right now is 18 months. So from the date we order it till that comes in is 18 months. The Mason dumps are around 8 months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other member of council? All right, Jason, that was good. Thank you very much for that. Jason, we want to go to your operating budget. What page would we be starting on? Do you know, or should I ask Chris?
Right here, we would be starting on page 72.
All right, Jason, again, for brevity's sake, only deal with increases or decreases. And only the ones that you feel are substantial or necessary to comment on. The council can certainly ask about the others.
Okay, so so do you want Chris to sort of do the salary and wages and how we got with that? Because Chris usually does that due to the contractual obligations and the percentages.
Chris, would you just please talk to item, I believe it's 011 and 012? And any other that would be automatic and not part of a decision-making process that the superintendent has made.
Sure, there's actually 3 accounts for salaries and wages. Within the DPW, we've got repairs and maintenance, which is what you have on the screen right now. We also have recycling, and then we have stormwater. All are just allocations of existing employees. So, for the most part, with the exception of 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people and a couple of part-timers, everything is contractual. So the numbers in there are the numbers per the contract, and then the non-union are based on percentage increase that's requested across the board for all non-union employees. So it's on page 72, page. Let's see.
And the reason why they're broken apart like this is because some things needs to be a little broken out for grant purposes and for obviously stormwater purposes. So some of the percentages are changed of employees. That's why it's broken down to these 3 categories. Employees' salaries are broken out by percentage, if I'm correct, right, Chris?
Yeah, all the allocations to recycling and stormwater are all percentages of employees based on their work functions in those departments. This is something that we've consolidated pretty substantially over the last 4 years or so. We used to have buildings and grounds, maintenance of parks, repairs and maintenance, recycling, vehicle maintenance, and the bus driver separately. Now we are down to just repairs and maintenance, which is essentially your overall DPW plus your allocations to recycling and stormwater. One big item to keep in mind is that stormwater specifically is an outside of the cap appropriation. So that is why we added that over the last 2 years. We started it in 2024 with the allocations, and we continue into 2025 as more and more state requirements have come down the pipe for stormwater management.
Okay, Jason, why don't you move, if you can, rather quickly or except where you feel you need to explain, and please reference page numbers.
All right, page 1, overtime has increased due to obviously step raises and the percentage raises, so we got to keep up with that. It increased about $13,000 if I'm not mistaken, right, Chris? No, sorry, 9,000 to keep up with salary and wages. Keep going down, Chris. Let's see. I'll go off my sheet. It's easier. Office supplies has increased to 3,900, but that's all.
Jason, give us a page reference. I think you're on 73.
I got to go off of Chris. Hold on. There's a different. All right. So as you can see, let's see. Boots, uniforms, nothing went up. Chris, unless there's any, office supplies has increased, if you could see that, by $1,900, but that's consolidating Shade Tree. All the Shade Tree's lines are going to be consolidated into the DPW tree lines. There was no sense of duplicate, just so everybody.
We're good. Move on.
All right, keep going. So that's why that increased to 6,250. There was really no increase there. Chris, if you can go to page 70. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Chris, if you can go to page 74. The salt and sand line has decreased by $5,000.
Hold on a second. Jason.
He's saying the percentage.
Is-
Oh, he's saying the percentage because it says increase 6250. It's like, where's 6250?
No, he's talking about the percent.
We didn't realize.
Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
All right, Jason, we're all back on the same page you are. Keep going.
All right, calcium chloride was negative $1,000 due to obviously storms that we've been having and the buildup of the trust fund a little bit, the storm trust that has a little bit of money in it for hurricanes and snow. Let's keep going. Let's see where we go. Page 76, training. I actually can reduce that training line down $1,000, Chris, more. That was-
Buy it out.
Jason, you're talking about
042, I'm sorry.
and you're saying that it's currently budgeted for 5,000, even though last year we only used 2,300, and you want to reduce it to 4,000?
Yeah, 4,000. Remember, Mayor, that's the line that got Shade Tree got put into as well.
Okay, the council will consider that later. Keep moving.
Okay, operating costs, that went up 9,000, but we can reduce the operating costs after talking to my guy by $3,000.
So we're talking about item number 166 from 9,000 to 6,000?
Yes.
If the council chooses to do so, I assume they will, but let's keep going.
Tree removal, that obviously went up. I can't do anything with that, but that did come, the extra money was funded through the Shade Tree lines. Stump removal stayed the same. Tree truck stayed the same. Let's fly through this.
Okay, well,
Wait,
stump removal, we spent zero last, oh, is that Shade Tree, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all those lines are done. They should
Okay.
be negative, like they're just zeroed out, but
Okay,
they've all been moved. There's really no increase to that.
Okay.
There's actually a decrease since that
okay.
happened.
Thank you.
Keep going, Jason.
Let me keep going. Let me get you to the page where there's any kind of big change. So page 84, increased tipping costs, 305,190. Everybody on that? Good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're able to reduce that by $10,000. So everybody knows. Temp agency, you're going to see that as a new line. That's 305,195. That did come out of salary and wages. That was my 17th guy. So that assists us with recycling for the 3 days a week. That was the 17th guy that I'd given up. So that just came out of salary and wages. That's why it looks like 148%, but it really came out of, it was really already funded.
Keep going.
Control recycling. That's Chris. Recycling tax went down. No, recycling tax went down $1,500. Chris, do you know what that is? That's line
That was-
number 305-300.
That's just the amount that we spent last year. We spent 13,200.
Okay. Okay. Um, control. Okay, so everything else is salary there, so let me just. Where's this? What is it? Okay, so the next thing is building and grounds. Obviously, let's see, building and grounds. Cleaning supplies went up. That's page
Jason,
number
what page are we on?
page 87,
87, okay? Give us the number.
310-171.
Just the last one. 171 is good. Keep going.
That went up due to increase on products. That's only a couple $100. Okay, so if you go to 88, page 88, you're going to see cleaning contracts. We put extra money into the cleaning contracts due to the Borough Hall now being part of that, and there's more rug and a little bit more cleaning that goes involved. Plus the Parks and Rec asked for the bathrooms to be cleaned a little more, and the police department is going to be cleaned a little more as well, especially during the winter times when there's salt all over the place. So right now we went up pretty much, what is that, $24,000? Am I right on that?
No, 19,000.
19,000, I'm sorry, $19,000. But that might come back down next year and not be used, but we have to appropriate the proper money until we get the contracts back in. We have them out to bid now.
All right, keep going. We'll hold questions until the end.
That's control. Has nothing. Okay, page 91. The top 315-173, the very first one.
You only went up by 1,000. I don't,
No,
I
I
mean,
really went up 10,000 in that, Mayor, because there was money transferred to that line 2 years in a row. 10,000 was transferred. It usually was 65,000. It looks like it hasn't gone up at all, but it does go up 10 grand. We had the 2 years in a row, and I had to go up this year because of a repair of the tub grinder. Right now I'm looking at a $20,000 bill to replace. It hasn't been replaced in 18 years, but to replace the cradle, that's the hammers section of it. And that's already 20,000. I think I can handle it with just a $10,000 increase. I wouldn't need the full amount. So really that was 65,000 last year with $9,000 transfer. So really it wasn't 75.
okay.
All right. So that went up. This is where mechanic police vehicles, if that's the next line down, 315-174. Since you guys approved that line can drop down to actually not even 20,000 because we got the vehicles last year. And since he's going to be able to get them before the beginning of the year now, that we could drop $4,000 off of that line.
So, you're saying we're moving it down to 20,000?
Yes.
All right. You guys somebody's keeping track of these so we can go back? Keep going, Jason.
Okay, same page, 315-176. There was an increase of like $400, 400 and change, or no, sorry. There was an increase of $750.
$750.
Yeah, $750. That's due to tire prices. They're just skyrocketing right now.
Okay.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Stop for a second,
Just
Jason.
real quick. It seems like we're talking with respect to budget for last year. Should we instead be talking with respect to cost last year? I mean, it matters more what we spent last year and what we not arbitrarily, but we anticipated for budget.
We can come back to that. That's what the
Alright.
council's job. His job is simply to tell us what the change is. Jason, if the change is minimalistic, you can skip over it and the council can ask questions if they choose to ask. So if the change is like a couple $100, just keep moving.
I want, can I just say one thing so the council's aware of how this budget, it really works, is that we have a control line on the bottom, and I want you guys to make sure that you're aware of this. There's a control line at the bottom for each block of stuff. You're gonna see down in each control line, you're gonna see some things negative 171% and some things keep money in them. That in that control block, we use that control block to make it all work. Sometimes it's the best to try to hit 100% and think everything's going to be correct, but that doesn't happen. So sometimes I got to hold back on certain things and take money from another line in that control block to offset another problem. So I will.
Jason, we understand that. Keep going, okay?
Okay. Let's see. 66 Chiefs tires. Stormwater OE, that's page 96, 26, 5, 10, 100.
Yep.
If you see that increase dramatically, that's for our new GIS system. So the DEP mandates a stormwater GIS system be in place. Last year, we funded that system and it's been complete. This is for our storm drains and trees, all are being put on this system. There is a fee, like you were talking to the chief before, there's a fee to every computer system every year and a user fee. So there's got to be, right now we have 6 users on that fee. So, and that's also for Colliers to assist us because they are the Ezra, they maintain an Ezra system. They're certified and licensed in the Ezra system. So if we have a problem, we can go right to them. So that's where the $15,000 increase comes from.
Okay.
Okay.
We're talking about
Jason, if you come back,
510-011.
yeah, 011, there's a drastic jump.
Yeah.
011. What page?
Same page, 96 is
Salary
stormwater.
and wages, public works, stormwater.
Oh, that's salary and wages. So that's like what Chris was saying. He took it out of, if you see the salary and wage maintenance line at the beginning of this, you see that that's like sort of negative. So this is outside the cap. So we made a percentage of employees that work on stormwater, what their percentage of their day or week is on stormwater, and we moved their salaries into this line. And that's the salary and wages for the stormwater.
What row was it moved from? What line was it moved from?
Chris,
It was
you-
011
011.
from page 72.
Yeah, the
No, I
first,
know, we're talking about 011. Where was it moved from?
So it's an aggregation of movement. You'll see that the recycling S&W went down by about $92,000. The bus salary and wages went down by 27,000. It went to 0 because that's all consolidated now. So that was absorbed into stormwater, which last year we only had allocated the increases and expected time for the mapping, but this year we're allocating the full expected costs of some of the employees that are cleaning catch basins every day and doing some other work. So we've got it percentages by employee actually that are being allocated to both recycling and stormwater this year. And then the balance is just in the repairs and maintenance, which is that first line. If you look at aggregated numbers, the total 2024 was 2,133,000. The total for 2025 is 2,262,000. So it's $128,000 difference across all of the lines.
Salary and wages.
Right, I was just.
For the salary and wage portion, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jason, keep going.
I think I'm done, Mayor.
Okay,
With that portion, I mean, we could go. What's the next? I guess we have Chris, your book, I'm trying to follow your book. It's different than my sheet forms.
Where are you trying to go?
Trying to go to the next section, which would be, hold on.
Just tell us, Jason, Chris can help you. Where do you want to go now?
Hold on, let me get to the budget docs here. Let's go to 375. Let's just do parks. So I can,
Chris, what page would that be?
That would be on 110.
Everyone, page 110. All right, Jason.
all right.
Begin.
We're talking with, obviously, we're seeing flag, the little stuff went up $250 due to flags. If you see the big one, ball field clay, on, it would be the next page down. So 111.
Yep.
111 ball field clay. It went up $4,900 because we did the schools. Now, talking to Joe, we could bring, that's going to stay the $4,900 increase. If you go to general maintenance and repairs, the 375,185, we can lower that by $3,000. So really,
So from 15 to 12?
yeah, from 15 to 12, sorry, hold on. Yes, 15 to 12.
Okay.
So that would only be a $1,900 increase due to the ball field clay. The reason why the clay is going up, last year, we didn't have to do the schools. Was no agreement, or Joe will speak a little more on that. This year, we are doing the school fields again with the clay, which jumped the price up. So that's the budget. So all of it, it's a $1,900 really increase.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay, Chris, we're out of that. So we'll go next to, well, let me get the last thing here. We'll go to utilities. That's 31. All utilities.
What line is that? Jason,
What's up?
what line is that?
It's page 119.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. What is the page, Chris? 118?
119 is really where it's stuck.
119. Yes. Just go down, Chris, and scroll down. I don't know where this one is.
Which one are you looking for?
I'm looking for 100, 455, 100, 31, 455, 100.
We're on page
121.
126.
Oh.
455. There's
No,
no 455.
445.
It's 120.
100, 121. Fire hydrant service?
Yeah, fire hydrant service, we increased that year over year, so that went up $3,000 due to sometimes when they have fires and everything else, that fluctuates here and there because that is our hydrant service. Just want everybody to understand why that went up. And water did go up. The water bill did go up this year a little bit. So that's the reason why we went to 134, even though last year it says 114. If they have a couple of fires, that's going to change all of that.
And I've actually increased it on top of that as well. We received a letter from Veolia with the amount, and I updated it after we got that.
Okay.
Up to the 145, 200 that you see there.
All right. And then if you go regular, the same thing happened with 446, 166 on the same page, or go one more page, go 122.
Yeah, that's on page 122, 446, 166. That's the
Yeah,
line.
that also increased due to the water increase. Even though it doesn't look like we used a lot, if you see the years prior to that, 22 and 23, they were all high. So with the rates going up, we added a little more money to that. And I think we're good on that too, Chris. So we have one more left. Right? Is that all I think that's all mine, correct? Oh, sewer, OE.
Sewer system.
Sewer
as well.
OE. So I'm gonna leave some of this up to Chris because this has to do with pretty much Paramus and Hackensack with all the bills that he gets from pretty much their CFO. So I'll let you take over on this one, Chris.
Yeah, the only two lines that are under you here are the TV scan, which didn't change, and the sewer meter inspection to Paramus, which didn't change. The other items were BCUA and the Hackensack Paramus sewer charges, which I talked about in the very beginning on the introduction. I don't know if you want me to go over that again.
Page 127, everybody. And we're talking about 202 and 301. Chris has already addressed that normally. So if we want to go back to that, we can when we open up the comments. Okay, so the budget continues for sanitation, landfill and things like that, but there's not mentioned, goes to contingency on 130, it goes to public employee retirement on 131, social security, things like that, but it's not something that we would, those are things that we don't control. You'll also see there'll be retirement for police and fire. Jason, if you're done, I'm going to ask the council to move your suggested reductions. Are you done?
Yes, Mayor.
I believe the first recommended reduction was page 76. There are two reductions there. Madam Chair, do you wish to move a reduction of 042 and 016, I'm sorry, and 166, a reduction from 1,000 to 4, so the item would go from 5,000 to 4,000, and 116, the item would go from 9,000 to 6,000 with a reduction of 3,000.
So should we do by page or just all of them at once?
It's because the pages are complicated,
Okay,
it's just
all right.
easier to do this
So
way.
moved.
Second.
All right, is there debate? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chris, are you good with that change?
Yes.
But I just want to make sure you keep it up. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the next one's on page 91.
Correct.
Okay, Madam Chair.
I have one on 84. Tipping fees, did he say reduce that by 10?
Jake?
Was reduced by 10.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, but we'll come back.
everything else will come back to, but his recommendations, we want to put them on the books right now. Okay, mechanics, week police, item 174, page 91. Madam Chair, would you like to make a motion or have the committee consider reducing item 174 from 24,000 to 20,000, thus removing 4,000 from the budget?
So moved.
Second.
Is there debate? Hearing none, so moved. All right, I believe the next one is on page 111. Please check me if I'm wrong. Okay, Madam Chair, general maintenance and repairs, 185 on page 111. Would you wish for the committee to the council to consider reducing the 15,000 to 12,000 with a reduction of 3,000?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there a debate?
No.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions to anything previously mentioned? All right, Chris, you have all those?
I'm sorry, I think we missed one on page 191.
Let's look at 191.
We
190
did that.
We did that
Yeah,
for
we did that.
20,000?
20,000.
Yeah, we did that.
We did.
All right. Is everything else good? Okay, this I open up to the council first. I'm going to excuse myself for a moment. And Council President, you are now in charge.
How do you wish to proceed?
Do you want to do the budget committee first?
Yeah, can we start with you? Any comments on everything from Jason?
Partial good.
All right, Al?
You're muted, Al.
No comment.
Thanks, Al. Greg?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks, Donna?
I'm good also.
All right. Anybody has comments? I have a few, but I'm happy to go last. Go.
Regarding the merger with the Shade Tree Commission, hi, Jason.
Hey,
I remember that they used to have a lot of funds in the bonds. So all that comes now under DPW, is that right? Yes?
correct.
What, was there anything we could have used?
So if you noticed right now we have bonds and everything, and Lizette, jump in. If you notice right now, I'm not asking for any tree replacement program at this time. In the new ordinance, obviously, when developers and people take down trees in their yard, there is a $400 per tree replacement. If whatever we decide. First of all, there's a chart that explains sizes. Sometimes if you take down a 30-inch tree, that could be a 3-for-1. So what we do is we go out, we evaluate, we tell them how many trees they got to replant. If they don't replant the tree, they do forfeit $400 to a trust fund or a bond fund. At the end of the year, I'm hoping that bond fund will supply the money right now to plant all the trees for street trees. I still am looking at that. This is the first year we're really doing this, so I'm really not asking for any money in that. I think that could be self-sustainable. Plus, if there's bonds that are released from street trees, they can range anywhere from, I think it's $1,500 to $2,500 or $1,000 to $2,500. If those trees happen to pretty much decease, we keep that money and for replanting. And so for one tree that deceases, you can get, it's $400 per tree planted. So you could get upwards of 6 trees for that one. So I'm hoping the program is self-sufficient and doesn't request us to put any more money aside except for the park programs.
And just so you understand, the bonding, right? The shade tree we used to handle is now under the purview of the DPW as per that ordinance.
Yes, and so this means that the tree removal, which you mentioned, went up, and the stump removal, you mentioned the shade tree office supplies went up. All that can be covered from.
Yeah, so all their lines got absorbed by ours and then reduced. So we closed their lines out. We put the money they had in those lines into the lines that the DPW also had for trees. And then we looked at them and reduced them where we could.
I think it's similar, it's not the same as the police outside duty trust, the replacement trust, and then the bonds that are forfeited and put into a different trust, a donations account. That money can only be used for tree plantings. It can't be used to substitute.
Okay, so not for tree removal, stump removal,
No.
it cannot be.
It's only for planting.
Because I remember that the stump removal used to come under
Stump-
it.
So stumping,
Maybe
so for the amount of, so if I could chime in there, for the amount of stumps that we remove a year, it's not a big cost. If we went out and did this ourselves, just the machine alone is 90 grand. So for the little bit we do, that's not really a lot of money. We keep a blanket open, and as we do them now, we stump grind quarterly, not yearly. So the resident doesn't have to see the stump in front of their house all year or leading into the next year. The other line that you said with the storm or the storm trust where it got absorbed, that's for our hurricanes and that's for our trees that are in our ditches, just so you understand. That's the only place they're used where we need a crane. That's why we absorb their money into that as well. And that's usually 2 or 3 times a year.
Thank you.
Anybody else had a comment?
Hi, Jason. Just a suggestion, on page 73, the meeting and seminars, would you be able to reduce that to 5,000?
So so we have a contractual obligation now. We amended our unionized contract for our employees to be able to upfit their CDL licenses from a B to an A. So the money actually, so they.
Just for the public's sake, Jason, would you always explain abbreviation CDL?
Okay, CDL, a CDL license is pretty much a
Commercial.
commercialized license. You have Bs and As. One's for a tractor trailer, one's for a regular truck with air brakes. So that would be all of our big salters. So what happens is for title changes here, some titles you need a Class A. In this contract, we allowed them, we put that in. As long as they lay out the money to get the Class A, we will reimburse them as soon as they show proof of that Class A. Now, they do sign a 3-year agreement with us where they can't go anywhere. And if they do, they have to refund us a 33.33% every year that they don't stay, up to 3 years. So that's where that money comes from, and it's usually around anywhere from $2,800 to $3,200, depending on what license they go for. Then also that's also our staff's CEUs to get our CEUs for all of our certificates. That's for the recycling coordinator, my certificates for the CPWM, the Clean Communities. Some of their classes are free, but some of their classes we got to pay for. So that's where all that money comes from. The training in the shade tree line or the tree line now, that goes for our tree guys that do ACRT training, and for us to get all of our certifications and our point systems for Shade Tree Federation. So
sorry, Jason, so that's in that account, 290041.
Yeah. So meeting and seminars is all that. That cannot.
I have a question.
I think,
okay.
Mayor, if you want to resume.
Sure.
control.
Okay, Jason, thank you so much for walking us through all this. Very helpful. I'm on page 84.
Chris, can you throw that up?
So if you look at 189 and 190, you explained to us why we can decrease the tipping fees, but my question is.
Oh, shut to that.
Are you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, okay. Let's look at 190. So we're going from 80,000 to 70,000. You explained that. Very good. What I'm looking at though is what we spent last year, which was 27,000.
So that's a good question, Dave. So recycling is a commodity. Okay. It's just like fuel. Okay. It could go up, it could go down. We've had the year prior, if you look at it, 65,000. So the problem is every month we get a bill, whether a ton went up to $135 a ton to remove, or if it lowers to $1. Cardboard sometimes is higher. Sometimes we get paid for cardboard, so it offsets the plastic.
Okay.
Sometimes both of them are high.
So this is your best estimate considering the fluctuating market conditions. I understand. Thank you.
Yes.
And then what about, can you also comment on 189, Jason?
189.
Same type of question, where we're going almost, what, 12,000 higher than last year's or 2024 actual.
Yeah, so if you see it zeroed out from 2024 to now, if you see it's slowly increasing, last year, believe it or not, we cut the contract for vegetation pickup down because it's starting to increase a lot, especially during the fall. So we took out a month, October, and we started picking it up ourselves during our leaf season. But we're noticing as houses get older, especially the new ones, we're seeing a big increase in vegetation getting thrown out. So all their shrubs, branches, grass. So we're noticing there's a lot more being
Do
there.
you think we can go any lower there than the 34 though? Or
No, also, I believe it's at the end of last year or middle of last year, we got a new contract through Nature's Choice. We go out for 3 quote solicitation, and Nature's Choice again was the cheapest, but they also went up $2, I believe, a yard of vegetation. So that's also going to see a little bit of an increase on that. I feel, and again, it's like a commodity, right? You don't know how much people are going to throw out. So you don't want to be underfunded and you're trying not to be overfunded. I think that's a happy medium, just so we don't, get caught.
thank you, Jason.
Anyone else?
I have a few questions for Jason, just for clarity's sake. I'm on page 87 of our book, it's line 174. In years past, we've talked about how the HVAC maintenance, for example, the new HVAC in the library, now the HVAC at the Borough Hall, they fall under the DPW for maintenance. But I noticed that this year and last year, it's still 0. But I do remember, I just want to make sure that we're not overlooking the maintenance as a whole, not per unit. Because ultimately, I think, and keep me honest, we said, I mean, it's the DPW that repairs the HVACs. But I see that as a 0.
So I can address this. So what we've been doing is keeping them. That's what's good about the capital account that we talked to, right? The buildings and grounds capital. That account has $30,000 in it. So if something major comes up, we're able to use that account and not up our OE budget. Obviously, that's direct funding that needs to be here. The capital account, if you don't use it, you're not being charged on it. So again, that was the way that we offset that and was able to keep it at 0. And if you could see, I over expended that account by $1,100, but the grounds account made up the difference for us. So that's how I use all the accounts in that block. You gotta, so, and then of course we have the capital.
All right, thanks. That's helpful. And then my other question is on line 177, page 91. It says, I know that we moved it around, but for the public's benefit, the senior citizen bus is still operating, and you have it as a 0 for purposes of salary and wages, I think it is, but I think it's moved to another line because it is operating.
Yes, it is operating 177. That used to be the old senior bus line. We had a separate line for repairs on the senior bus. I believe last year or the year before, we moved that into just a regular DPW line because that we all decided, I believe, that the bus is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that line's just for the repairs. The bus is running, and again, that'll be a conversation for next year.
Understood. All right. I think I don't have any further questions right now.
Any other member of council?
I just have a quick question, but it's more on a positive note. On page 83, you have 30511. You had $100,000 plus decrease. Just wondering why that is.
30511. That was diversified through the other salary and wage lines, like Chris was saying. So you have 3 salary and wage lines, right? You got stormwater, you got recycling, and you got the main salary and wage line. That money has been removed out of there to be put into the other salary and wage lines.
So everything is combined.
No, there's 3 different ones. So that's combined, but you see the reduction went to either stormwater, how Chris either set it up, or it went to recycling.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So building on what
you can chime in, yeah.
I think building what Nadira said, so Jason, so I understand, the way you do it is you might have somebody who spends 40% in one bucket, 30 in the other, 30 in the other.
Yes.
And that's, okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Barry. Yeah.
Sorry,
Rudy?
on the same page, there is severance. I just wanted to understand what it is. It means like somebody left? Like, what, this for my knowledge, what is that?
So 016 you're talking about?
016, please.
Yeah, so severance. Chris, do you want to talk on this? Because this was more based on So this is if we lose somebody and they accumulate vacation time, as per the union contracts and our policy book, if they accumulated time just for vacation, not sick, not anything else, just for vacation, we have to pay that out. So if the employee's here for 4 years, and say if they get 10 days a year and they have 40 days, you're allowed to carry over 10, right? Every year, and you get an extra 10. That 10 is guaranteed to them. So usually that's the walk away. You have to pay that out. Am I correct, Lizette?
No, I think the severance is for a certain group of employees. I think the cutoff was in 2011. That was their terminal leave. So some departments you'll see severance. And newer employees, like such as myself, if I leave 20 years from now, maybe a gold watch, thank you, but there's no severance. But if somebody in, like last year when the deputy clerk retired, so she had been here like 30-something years, she had that terminal leave severance.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I forgot the program, the 3-month severance, right?
It depends how many years somebody is here. I think if it's like 20 years, it's 2 months severance. If it's 30 years, it was 3 months severance.
Pretty, does that satisfy your question?
But it's a program that's phasing out as employees retire.
What was it?
Any other member of council
Just one,
before I
sorry.
go to the committee? Go ahead, Dave.
Page 119. It's item 440-170. I'm just wondering about the $72,000 for telephone service. Is everyone getting an iPhone 16 or what's going on?
No, so that's for and Joe Zemenies really runs the phone services here. That's for all the voice over IPs. That's for all the phone lines that we have. There is self-service in there, and now actually he's upgrading that this year. We actually are still running on hard lines, believe it or not. There is copper lines going to that building, and that's part of the upgrade that we're doing in the police department and Borough Hall. I know he's gotten numbers. Lizette probably could talk a little more to that, but that's pretty much what that's for. If you see the long distance one that we haven't used, the 6,000, that will be eventually. I will talk to Chris. The 168. That's going to be more for the alarm system. There's a system that the lieutenant's also looking to do over to the police department I believe it's for the fire department connection as well. So that will hopefully be changed. I got to see how Chris would want to do that, but that money would be allocated to that line or to that feature.
All right, there's a lot going on there. I see like the AT&T wireless also, that's got zeroed out.
Yeah, that zeroed out last year or 2 years ago.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Telephone and telegraph, maybe we just change it to telephone. I don't think it's telegraph anymore, but anyway.
Go ahead, Barry.
Hey, Jason, page 124, 447166, the diesel fuel. So that's staying flat to budget, but we only paid 48. Is that what, because it's a commodity, it can go up and down? Is that why?
It's a commodity, it can go up and down. And remember, we didn't have any snowstorms last year or hurricanes. So you got to remember, being a commodity and not having any of that really kept that low. But we've had that almost, we had that pretty close to being over a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly. I think 2022. So, yeah. You got to remember too, tariffs are coming, or are here. So these are really light budgets, and I'm sort of a little worried, but it is what it is because we got to make it friendly to the residents. But I'm worried about that, just so everybody understands.
Any other questions from council?
There is, again, for my knowledge, it's on page 116, it says celebration of public events. That's recreation events, right?
Yes.
Because it's not a recreation.
No, that's not Jason's account.
That's not
Joe will
okay.
go.
I share accounts with Joe, but not that.
Okay,
The account they share is the park meeting.
right.
Any other questions from council?
Thank you.
Ken,
Jason.
No, sir.
I think we should.
Donna,
Yeah, which.
any questions? Greg?
We check
Al?
with the committee first.
Okay, seeing none. does the, Madam Chair, any changes that you would want to make, are you reserving that until the 8th?
No, we don't have to reserve,
Is there any changes other than we made that you think we should be doing now?
I don't have any objections.
So is there any capital that we want to approve, or do you want to wait to the 28th? I mean, to the 8th,
No, I don't think we need to wait.
okay? So why don't we do it in sections? DPW vehicle and equipment. It is open, Madam Chair, could you move and, could someone second, and then we can decide what we want to do?
For each line?
We're gonna do it by groups.
Okay,
DPW vehicle and equipment.
This is to move it.
yes, so moved.
Second.
It is now open for debate, discussion, and revision if we wish to do anything. Do we wish to, move this as is, or do we wish to change it? Is there any thought on that?
Make a motion.
Do we
to
have
move
to do it
these?
as is?
No, we've already made the motion. It's
Okay.
now on the floor. So we would have to revise it if we wanted to pull anything out. No, to be very honest with you, I've spent a lot of time over the last 13 years working with Jason. They get 150% out of our vehicles. And if I'm not mistaken, the street sweeper, actually, its entire tank fell out, like last year or the year before, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put it back together. So it literally fell apart in the street and they put it back together. So that's why I thought we could move this as a group. We can do the others by item if you wish, but
I think group is fine, unless someone has an
yeah.
objection.
I mean, the danger of having to start to move to an electric fleet is a serious concern for us budget-wise. So we really need to get that moving. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed, any abstention? All right, so we've approved all of those, the 240,000 to 350,000 and 20,000. Okay, let us now move to roadsides. We'll do this one separately. Curbs and sidewalks. Maybe we'll do this one a little bit differently. Is there anyone who would wish to reduce or not move this? Then could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Road program Riverside Co-op. Anyone wish to reduce or to not move this? Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It has been approved. Fire company number 2, apron concrete and parking lots. Anyone wish to reduce or amend or not move it? Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we move to the second sheet. So I'm gonna jump to sewer improvements and sewer, storm drain line replacement. I'm gonna recommend that the council not reduce that and that they simply move it. Is there any objection to moving the sewer improvements, storm drain line replacement? Okay, could I have a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Both of those are approved. Okay, now we're going to move item by item. Emergency repair program, I'm going to ask the council not to take any position other than to approve. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna skip the salt and go to public safety wallpaper interior. Does the council wish to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Public safety lighting upgrade, does the council wish to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public safety windows, does the council wish to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fire company number 1's floor, second floor, council wish to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now let's go with this last small one, seasonal pole decorations. Does the council wish to move that, reduce that, or not move it?
So moved.
Second?
You don't have to.
I will.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, DGW Salt Shed, Mechanics Bay, Borough Hall, as Jason said, what we're doing is not necessarily spending this amount. We're simply putting it to be able to spend it. Does the council wish to discuss this or move this?
Moved on my part.
Second. It has been moved and seconded. It could be open for debate. Is there debate? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're done with that. Okay, we have 20 minutes left. Now, Madam Chair, we can either move to the fire department or we can move to the rec department. The chief is here. Would it be acceptable to move to the fire department?
Yes, Joe, I'm sorry, Joe, Rec Director, so sorry that, we have to move you to possibly next week. I know you've been online for the last 4 hours or so, but, would that be okay with you?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Great.
thank you,
Chief,
Joe.
if you could come up and join us. The chief is present. He's not remote, so we're gonna ask him to sit here. All right, chief, what we do is we do capital first. And what we have down for you for capital is turnout gear, purchase of pagers, programming for portable radios, and replacement of ladder truck. I think you might be walking something else in. If you are, we'd like for you to talk about that after you talk about the items that are currently listed.
On the capital budget, I think you covered everything.
So if you can just explain for the public's sake and for the committee and the council's sake, what these items are and why we're doing them. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but it's just a process.
I mean, I'll start with the largest amount here, just to make everybody aware. We brought it up last year and I'm bringing it up again. The ladder truck, the good news is, you know, it's recommended that every 25 years our apparatus is replaced. My prior chiefs before me, as well as the membership, have done a great job taking care of the equipment. We've spoken to mechanics and we realized that the life of the ladder truck can be extended to 30 years. With that said, it's a 2003. You need to be looking at, and I'm making you all aware of that, the size of the purchase, that money should be put aside because that purchase could be anywhere from 1.8 to 2.2 million dollars. So the good news on the ladder truck, and this is taking up the most time on my capital, is you know, you got to figure by 2028 we're going to have to order that truck. Right now they're running 3 to 4 years behind on apparatus, you know, for anybody that needs apparatus. And the ladder truck will have to be replaced at 30 years. So, you know, I'm just making you aware, like I did last year, that, you know, we should start thinking about what the plan is going to be to have those funds available in 2028 to replace it. And what I do want to speak about on public record is that we do have an engine that's behind the ladder truck that will not go 30 years, in my opinion, and that will need to be replaced when it's 25 years old. Not putting that in the budget or anything or in the 5-year plan, but you know, when I say that the ladder truck can go 30 years, I don't speak for the other apparatus for River Edge Fire Department.
Okay.
So the ladder truck's the biggest item. The other 3 items to take you through real quickly. The turnout gear, we were successful, the prior chief, and a grant that we received. You know, we also have new members. And when I say gear, it's not just the fire gear that we wear, it's the Swiftwater rescue gear that we wear. So, you know, we have 2 types of gear that we're buying. I did spend a lot of time speaking to some of senior membership, and that $38,000 number, we were able at the last minute to bring that down to $30,000. So that's good news.
Okay, so chief, what you're saying is you're recommending we change the current list from 38,000 to 30,000?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead, chief.
Okay, just 2 other items. The radios, communication is very, very important. You know, we took on a big project this year, getting our radios identifiers put on the radios, making sure that the radios were all programmed properly. You know, I put in a number of $46,000. I felt that that was a good number to keep the radios where they need to be for the equipment that we have, so members can communicate in case of an emergency. That number I can bring down though also, and that was a last minute decision by speaking to a senior member in our department. And that I can bring from 46 to 38,000.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And
And then the
last-
last and final item, very simple, the pagers. I mean, we've done a great job, you know, making people responsible that we're just not gonna replace their pager if they lose it. And the members have done a great job, the last couple of years, you know, not damaging or losing their pagers. And although the prices have gone up on that, we're just holding that number at $4,000. And that basically explains my capital, budget.
Okay, Chief, are you walking anything else in, or is that
On the
it?
capital side, no.
Yeah, okay, very good. I would like to change our process. I'd like for us, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go to the committee first and then the council. But I'm asking, considering the time, that if we wish to approve the capital, we not wait until after the operating, which shouldn't take us long, but just in case we run long. Is there objection?
No.
All right. Donna, questions or comments about the capital budget?
No questions.
Al,
No questions.
Greg,
No, just to state that we really do need to start considering putting money away for that major purchase. That's all.
okay, Ken,
No, just a question. Actually, I take that back. You're definitely not shorting yourself on the turnout gear, right? By dropping it to those numbers?
My prior chiefs have done probably an unbelievable job in making sure that our guys are suited properly and have the right gear. Normally, when towns fall behind, they're not replacing the gear when they should be replacing the gear. And we were fortunate enough to get a grant, my prior chiefs. So they,
Okay.
so yes, I'm safe with that number, but I appreciate you bringing that up.
council.
I have a question.
How many,
Oh,
sorry, hi, Chief. Like how many
What?
turnaround gears or pagers and the portable radios? What numbers are we talking about?
Turnout gear, maybe 5 sets this year we're looking at. The pagers, I think we're looking at maybe 6 to 8 pagers this year.
6-0?
6 to 8.
Oh, 6 to 8, I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
I mean, we've been fortunate also with new members coming in, so they're gonna need a pager. And, you know, we've done a great job holding people accountable on their pagers. And what was the third question? I'm sorry.
For the portable radios, how many?
The portable radios, well, what we're doing is, the county has upgraded, the channels on the radios. So what we're doing is looking to get some of the radios flashed. So we would have more people being able to communicate on the apparatus. Oradell is there right now. River Edge is looking to get where Oradell is on the radios. I did put one radio replacement in there as well. You know, to replace the radio, they had one more new radio.
Thank you.
thank you, Chief. Quick question. The ladder truck,
Yes.
we're gonna need a new one by 2033, we're thinking, your estimate.
Yeah, 2033. No
So
later.
that means we have to put the order in by 2028, like you explained, 3 or 4 years ahead of time.
Yeah, it may be even longer.
Question
Uh,
is that when the full amount will be due? You know
Uh,
what I mean?
So that's actually a question for Chris. Chris, I believe that under state law, we have to have the full amount before we can put in the order. Is that correct?
We have to have the full appropriation available before we can award the order, that's correct. But we don't have to have the cash on hand until we
No.
need it to actually pay.
And for the public's benefit, what our CFO is explaining is that just because we put it in the capital budget doesn't mean we borrow for it. We borrow as we need it, not as we appropriate it.
Mayor,
Thank you.
are we subject to the same problem we are with the police cars? For you place the order, by the time they give it to us, it's 20% more?
Don't know.
Like, once you make the purchase, is it a purchase lot?
I believe that when we make the purchase on the ladder truck, we agree to that purchase in 2028. We order it at that price and they don't raise the price.
No price,
It's locked in.
because our cop cars don't seem to go that way.
It has to do with, cop cars had to do with, state,
They're under state contract that lost.
yeah.
The contract.
Yeah, so the vendor we had agreed with, closed up or lost the contract, and so we had to go to a new vendor, and the new vendor said, yeah, but I'm not gonna do it at that rate.
Right.
Yeah.
So bottom, I mean, based on, we have to get up to that number by 2028.
2020, on the thing, I think he has it to 2029,
Okay.
but yes, 2028,
Yeah,
2029.
2028, 2029, and we brought this up, if you remember, last year, so.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think,
of course,
I mean,
yeah.
How much did we put away so far? Any?
None.
Okay,
I thought we did.
I thought we did do that.
no, I think we
Don't-
spoke about it
we
last
spoke
year.
about
I
it,
watched the tape, but I don't believe anything,
Lizette, Chris, did we put anything away for, fire equipment fire ladder truck?
No, this will be the first time.
All right, so that's important, Jim. Okay, so,
I would suggest $300,000. I mean, that should be put away for the ladder truck.
so let's move forward. Does the council wish to move, we'll start with the turnout gear, with amended to 30,000, or do they wish to put it off or reduce it?
At 30,000, so move.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and second. Is there any debate? Okay, so, all in favor? Okay, Chris, so, the turnout gear is now 30,000. Purchase of pagers, does the council wish to move this or reduce it or, put it off until the 8th?
4,000, you said?
Yes, purchase of pagers for
Yeah.
that.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Programming of portable radios. There is on the floor a reduction to 38,000. Does the council wish to move that at 38 or make a change or put it off to the 8th?
So
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, replacement of ladder truck partial funding. Does the council wish to move it at 300,000, put it off until the 8th, or or reduce it? Or not move it?
Chief, would it be, given the budget crunch at the moment, would it be acceptable to have that this year? And possibly put more towards next year?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna be the chief when that needs to be
I'm- but I'm-
replaced, but looking out in the best interest of the town.
Mhm.
And we've taken this vehicle 25 years and we're moving it to 30 years. You're not gonna get more than 30 years out of it, so we're just putting something off that we know and publicly know the last 2 or 3 years that we gotta be seriously looking at this. At the very least, I would put 200 to 250 aside. If it's not gonna be 300, and at least we have something in the pot to, keep putting money away. It's only gonna incentivize us next year, no matter how bad things are, that we started putting money aside for something that we're gonna need, and we should continue at the very least putting the same amount for next year put aside.
So you'd be okay with 200?
Listen, I'm here.
I'm,
I would, if 200 would be fine. I mean, it's a start, and I think it's a good start for this meeting and for the community.
Does the council wish to weigh in on 200?
I agree with that.
My only concern is that we're just pushing it down the road then.
I agree, and it's not gonna make a big difference on our budget for this year.
So,
Does the committee wish to opine?
I think you have to put something away, right? I mean, you're talking about 200,000 or 300,000, and really by the time we purchase that, that's what the cost is gonna go up. So you gotta really start putting something away if we're gonna spend $2 million on this machine in 4 years.
Mayor,
Yes.
if you remember, I was chief in 22 and 23. We've been kicking this can down the road now for a few years, and that tunnel opening is getting bigger and bigger in the window.
Okay, Donna, Al, anything?
Yeah, I have something I'd like to say too. I agree. I think that there's a need to put money aside. And I think that the more you put aside, the better off you're gonna be. This is a $2 million piece of equipment that you have to buy. At this point in time, if it's 5 years, you need 400,000 every year to do it. You need more than that. So I think reducing it is not a wise idea, and I think you should, at least if the chief is recommending it and his staff is recommending a $300,000 start, then I think that's what you should be seriously considering. And I think next year you should be considering putting in more. Otherwise, you're going to wind up buying this thing and you're going to have a $2 million debt that you're going to have to deal with.
Well, we're gonna have that debt no matter what, but yes. So, Donna?
I think you should be putting away the 300,000. I don't think lowering it is the way to go, considering how expensive ladder trucks are.
So our finance chair, what she's trying to do is, if for no other reasons, consider the fact that we're talking about right now $5.2 million of debt for this year, and I think she's appropriately asking whether we can reduce it in some places. Does the council wish to do 200,000, 250, or 300,000?
I totally get what you just said, Mayor, and it's important, but this is life safety stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to see us get in a bad place with that, so.
Good.
I suggest 300,000.
So does the council wish to go to 300,000?
I do.
Go with the chief's number.
All right, so motion and second I would need.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Chief, operating budget.
If I can, and believe me, I respect you've been here for 4 hours. I just put something together that I'd like to read real quickly. I promise I'll be quick. Is that all right with you, Minister?
Of course.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to say thank you. Like many things, we are all aware it truly takes a village and we need the help and cooperation from each other. I can wholeheartedly say that we, the River Edge Fire Department, get the support that we need. I can say that I too get the support that I require. We just ask that it continues, and I see that it is, and I appreciate it. I'm smart enough to realize that my success is because of the support I receive from our dedicated members. While one member can make a positive impact to any situation, one person can rarely do it alone. Our success is also due to this council, my past liaison, our current liaison, as well as the River Edge Police and the DPW who frequently work with us. We also have a strong support of the community as evident in our interaction at public events like fire education in our schools, River Edge Day, and Trunk or Treat holiday festivities, and of course, taking Santa around. We do much more than just the fire calls. I can confidently say we're successful last year, and how do I define success? We got better at what we do, and injuries were minimal. Safety is our number one, and we operate in the danger. So this is always the main goal for us. No one gets hurt and we all go home. We welcomed new members last year. We invested in swiftwater rescue, and when our teams were called in emergencies, we executed brilliantly. Fire calls in 2024 were at 340, highest in years, up from 2023 where we had 257 calls. So this was an increase of about 34%. We are proud to state that our fire department that makes other fire departments better. We lead in training. We invite others to train with us. We have completed more training than most New Jersey volunteer fire departments. Our training resulted in quick fire stops when called to duties. I'm happy to explain and speak to my rationale around the decisions on the operational part of the budget. I thank you all for your time.
Okay, Chief, may I see your sheet? Because it's easier for me to reference. Chris, what page is the chief's budget?
59 in our book.
Even better.
Yep, 59.
All right, Chief, if you could explain any increases or decreases that are significant. The council can certainly ask questions if anything you say for the lesser items. Go ahead.
I mean, garage supplies, we had, I'm just pointing out what we've increased. The garage supplies were 1,500, we went to 1,800 based on, you know, what we've spent and the fact that a lot of the costs have gone up. That's on the first page.
Okay, Chief, go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Office supplies, they were 500 last year. We spent 742. This year, I'm recommending that we go to 750 on the office supplies. Membership dues were 1,000. We reduced that to $500. I'm just pointing out any ups or downs here.
Sure.
Okay, medical exams were $750 last year. We lowered it in 2023 was 1,100, and then we went to 750. This is when we pay when new members come aboard and they got to get a physical. We've exceeded $1,250 this year. We're at $1,274. And I'm recommending that we do $1,250 for next year, an increase of $500 due to the new members that are coming in.
What page are you on?
He's on
What
page
account?
62,
62,
account
I'm
number
sorry.
170.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been just making
Yeah, no.
talking about
Yeah.
the changes.
You're doing great.
Okay.
Your next change would be vehicle repair 184.
The vehicle repair 184 last year, when Councilwoman Kaufman was here, she put a lot of time into helping me with this, and we had a number of 50,000. And I'm recommending that we keep that number, especially with the, you know, age of our equipment and some of the repairs that they require, but I'm not looking to change that. So we're leaving that at 50. Central dispatch is our communication there who call us out. I'm just looking to put that at $6,250, only because that's what their new price is going to be. Lizette passed that information over to me. Hose testing and the ladder testing, that has also gone up like everything else. I'm looking to bring that to 6,500, and last year was at 6,000. The internet service was 1725. There's been an increase there for both firehouses, so I'm looking to move that to 2,000. Our software contract, there was an increase there. I'm looking for 3,500. It was 3,000. What I was what the money we put that was budgeted last year, we spent 3,404. So this year I'm looking to make that number 3,500. And then the only other two added items that I'm asking for help on is we had in the budget 3 items actually. Uniforms. This is the uniforms that our firefighters wear, our dress uniforms during July 4th. You know, whenever we attend funeral or a celebration. This is something that was in the budget many years back. We've taken it out of the budget. And we use our fund drive money that we get to purchase the uniforms. I'm asking for the for $4,000. That would buy us 4 uniforms, and I want to put that back in our operational budget.
So Chief, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief is looking to move on page 67, uniform expense, 032 from 450 to how much, Chief?
4,000.
Chief, Chris, is that correct?
No, that's a different department. This is the 4,000 is a new line item that's not in this budget at all.
It's a new line item.
Okay, so, okay.
It's not on any of the documents. It doesn't exist yet.
67 is fire prevention.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so Chief, you're looking to,
Have to add back in, because he said it was there before.
is there a line for that, Chris?
No, it doesn't exist yet. It's a brand new line that was, and the request was made after the packages were already completed.
And you're looking for, $4,000 for uniforms?
Yes, and I would split that evenly between company one and company two, regardless of what, if company one needed more uniforms, and company two needed less, we would still split the money evenly. So each firehouse, was to get $2,000. Just to give an example, I'm entitled.
Chief, that actually isn't a concern for the budget committee.
Okay, no problem.
That, is between you and Lizette.
Okay,
So just because we're short on time.
no
I
problem.
have a question because.
Hold on, I think he has a second request.
Oh, okay.
Let's,
Two more requests.
Okay,
two
fine,
more
sorry.
requests.
Yes, then I'll make it quick. The other thing was dinner dance. That's something else that we paid for through our fund drive, and the money's just not there. It's something that we do every 2 years, just honoring the chief that served the 2 years, plus it's like a thank you to the members. Many other towns contribute to this as part of the operational budget. We're just not seeing the money that we used to get in our fund drive. And it just makes it hard for us to have the funds that we need to
How much?
do this. 7,500,
7,500.
yes.
And the third one, Chief.
It's just the maintenance. This is contracts that we're having for our tools and whatnot, just to keep them serviced properly.
So we don't have that currently in our budget.
No, we don't. And I want to add
Well,
that
who's currently doing the maintenance?
we're putting it, when we get the maintenance done, we're just putting it under a repair.
Chris, would you opine on whether, that would be a new item or simply an increase to an old item?
I mean, that would really be department prerogative. I don't have a problem with creating a new account for it, if that makes it easier to keep track of.
And that would be, you should take it out of which line, Chief?
Normally, we would take that out of the $50,000 repair.
Chief, why would we create a new line?
Well, because it's really not a repair, it's something that's preventing a repair. So, it's a contract that we're doing on, for example, like the tools that we have on the squad, the new squad. So somebody comes in, they service the tools every year, prolongs the life of those tools, so it doesn't have to be part of the $50,000. And, we have to end up replacing the tools.
So Chief, you have a fire siren maintenance line. You're asking to add another line similar to that. And it would be a maintenance line for specifically what? How would you title it?
Maintenance of equipment that we have, tools and equipment.
So this would be tools
And equipment.
and equipment maintenance
See them out.
for how much, Chief?
3,000.
But this doesn't include the sirens, right?
No, this.
No,
This is
because
just like manual tools.
Yeah, tools that are on the apparatus.
There is another line.
Mr. Statement, Chief, what was it again?
I'm sorry.
3,000?
3,000.
This was coming out of motor vehicle repair.
It would be like the equipment that's on the apparatus, like when we showed you the squad and we
Yeah,
opened
but
up the cabinets.
and the radio maintenance is separate.
It would be a new item, yeah.
And it was, you were traditionally
Oh.
taking it out of line number
184 on page 63.
Yes,
184 on page 63.
correct,
And you want to keep 184 at the same amount.
correct.
So you want to,
How much?
Actually, 184, last year the budget was 58,000.
yes, he's reducing it. He's recommending we reduce it. He's
Well-
already reduced it to 50.
No, we had a transfer in.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
But it's already in the budget at 50,000, so we don't need to take any action there. So,
Can I just ask a question about maintenance? So Chief, are you gonna get a maintenance agreement, or you just go in and?
No, we're gonna get an agreement
Uh-huh.
to service the tools. I mean, right now, we're doing an agreement to get the tools, maintained.
Mhm.
And then we just took it out of the that line item with the
Right, right.
$50,000 in it.
I know we're pressed on time. Can I make a question, clarifying questions?
Yes, but we really are 8 minutes over and our citizens budget committee are here, so we want to probably vote on this on the 8th. But if you want to ask questions now, we can.
Yeah, just two clarifying questions. So we're adding a new item, line for uniform 4,000,
Yeah.
correct? But I see here uniform allowance on page 59, is 013 for 75,000.
No, that's not, Lizette, can you?
That's the annual, stipend based on
Stipend,
point,
right.
it's just entitled uniform.
Used to be
Can it
called
be
the clothing
reused?
allowance. And that was, if firefighter has clothes on underneath their turnout gear. The idea originally, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, we changed it.
Yeah, but that was the original idea,
Yeah.
when the line was first created. Now it's essentially a stipend we're giving
Okay,
firefighters.
it's just the name is
It's like
confusing.
renaming the name.
Is the name is confusing, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yes, I-
uniform
Yeah.
lines,
Yes,
and I was trying to reconcile what you meant
Yes.
by new ones for
okay.
a funeral and whatnot.
So maybe do dress uniforms at the
Or
line.
something, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Chief,
we're gonna go to Chief Critty, but we're going to have to keep it short and we're gonna have to pick it up on the 8th. Go ahead, he's
He's on.
Citizen Budget Committee member Greg.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Yeah, you don't have to call him chief. Just real quick, I think what Chief Schlossberg is getting at is with the maintenance. I think we're getting into the weeds a little bit, just like the police chief for his budget has a service contract line. That's what the fire department needs. We need a service contract line. We get our brand new Cascade system at Company 2 maintained every year and calibrated. We get our extrication tools maintained and calibrated. Right now, the past 3 years, we've been taking that out of machinery, equipment, other repairs, other. We need a service contract line. And the uniform line, I know, just to make a suggestion, why not just change line 255032, uniform repair, and put the $4,000 in there instead of making a mountain out of a molehill, and just put that in there and everybody knows what that is.
Greg, that's a great idea, and all these are great ideas, but because this is a walk-in item, the council should be, and the committee should be allowed some time to ruminate on it. We'll make it item number 1 when we open on the 8th. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
We are now 11 minutes over. I apologize for anybody who has scheduled items that they need to be at events or appointments. With the council's approval, I'd need a motion and second to close for today.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. All right, thank you all. Excellent work.
Mayor?
Thank you.
So-
Sorry, Benjo.
Yes?
Mayor, you
Yes.
need to open to the public, though. We
Oh,
didn't
my
do
bad. Everybody sit back down. So the last motion was null and void because we have to open the public. So can we have a motion second to open to the public on any items spoken about today or any item they wish to speak?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody who wants to speak? Jay-Z, iPhone, Neil Carroll, we don't see anyone here like to, no? Please raise your hand. Seeing none,
Motion to close.
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, excellent, thank you. And we're good? Okay, Chief.